at 7 o'clock. I'm Linda Sinclair. Good evening. Dozens of migrants are being detained under the UK's new one-in, one-out deportation deal with France, which came into force yesterday. They were picked up after crossing the Channel in small boats and are the first to be taken into custody under the arrangement. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, said ministers would robustly defend the plan against expected legal challenges. Our political correspondent Nick Eardley has more details.
We're told that several dozen people have been detained from more than 5 different nationalities. We're not getting all the specifics and their stories to stop anything that could potentially be of use to the smugglers. The big question, of course, is does this persuade people who are thinking of making that crossing not to do it? And ultimately, does it bring those record numbers of people crossing the Channel on small boats down?
The Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, says there is still genuine uncertainty in the economy despite the bank's decision to cut interest rates today. Mr Bailey told the BBC reducing the rate from 4.25% to 4% was a finely balanced decision. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel intends to take military control of the entire Gaza Strip. He was speaking to the US network Fox News this afternoon.
We don't want to keep it. We want to have a security perimeter. We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life. That's not possible with Hamas.
Mr Netanyahu has since been meeting with the Security Cabinet to discuss his plans for a full occupation. Israeli media reports suggest that Israeli Army Chiefs of Staff is opposed to a further expansion of military operations. The Scottish Secretary has described City of Edinburgh Council as snobby after remarks about Oasis fans ahead of the band's Murrayfield shows. Ian Murray said comments made in a safety briefing which characterised fans of the group as rowdy, intoxicated and middle-aged men were classist. Edinburgh Council has been contacted for comment. A man and 4 teenagers have been charged after police were hit by eggs and stones when a crowd gathered on a street in Fife. Officers were called to the address on Methil Hill on Sunday afternoon after a group of up to 100 people targeted a house. It comes after 3 men, a 36-year-old woman and a 15-year-old girl were charged earlier this week in connection with the incident. The National Library of Scotland is marking its 100th anniversary with a special collaboration, a one-off edition of the Beano. Just 500 copies were handed out on a first-come, first-served basis at the library in Edinburgh and at the Kelvin Hall in Glasgow. The initiative aims to reflect the library's mission to preserve Scotland's cultural heritage. Amina Shah is Scotland's national librarian.
It's important for us to represent everything that's important to the people of Scotland, and the Beano certainly is. And access to reading and a love of reading often comes from childhood, and it often comes through comics, being able to read independently, and that is so important.
Now to the sport with David Curry.
Thanks, Linda. Good evening. 2 Scots have been nominated for the Ballon d'Or Awards. Napoli midfielder Scott McTominay is on the shortlist for Male World Player of the Year. Real Madrid forward Caroline Weir becomes the first Scot to make it onto the women's shortlist. Just under an hour till kick-off for the 2 Scottish clubs in tonight's Europa Conference League qualifiers. Dundee United away to Rapid Vienna in the first leg of their tie. Hibs away to Partizan Belgrade. Aberdeen Celtic and Partick Thistle have been disciplined by the SPFL for fans' pyrotechnic displays at the end of last season. The 2 Premiership clubs will have to close 200 seats if there's a repeat, while Thistle face the closure of a stand because their fans' display at Ayr Somerset Park was followed by a pitch invasion. A broken hand has ruled Loughborough Lightning fullback Lucia Scott out of the Women's Rugby World Cup, which starts later this month in England. And South African Richard Stern is 1 shot ahead of the field at the DP Tour golf event at Trump International in Aberdeen. That's all for now. I'll be back at 8.
Thank you very much. Turning to the travel news, and in Perth and Kinross, an earlier 3-vehicle accident on the M90 going north means it's slow approaching the Broxden roundabout. And finally to Scotland's weather, there'll be a mix of clear spells and cloud that could potentially produce the odd light shower as we head into the evening. In the latter part of the night, cloud will thicken from the west with heavy rain moving in from the Western Isles, Northwest and the Northern Isles. Another mild night with lows of around 9 to 13 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow will start wet and windy in the northwest, west and Northern Isles. BBC Radio Scotland News.
Following Scotland's teams in Europe, live on Sports Sound.
On BBC Radio Scotland.
Welcome to European Sports Sound with me, Kenny McIntyre. A busy night ahead. We have full coverage of Hibs game away to Partizan Belgrade with updates on Dundee United's tie away to Rapid Vienna. Let's hope both can follow on from a terrific performance from Rangers on Tuesday night. As ever, BBC Radio Scotland has you covered.
On your radio, online at BBC Sports Scotland, your smart speaker and BBC Sounds. This is Sports Sound.
The action lives here.
On BBC Radio Scotland.
There's no better way to go into a game like this, feeling off the back of 3 points at the weekend.
Dundee 1, Hibernian 2.
It'll be a tough challenge. They're a good side, carry a huge threat.
Big goal for Dundee United. They're surely now en route to the third qualifying round of this Conference League.
They are the challenges that we want. A couple of years ago, we were kicking off the championship campaign against Arbroath and now prepare for a trip to Rapid Vienna.
Following Scotland's teams in Europe. Live on Sports Sound.
Welcome to the show. Really looking forward to this one. Tony Docherty and Michael Stewart are alongside me in the studio. Here is the plan. Full commentary to come from Partizan Belgrade against Hibs with updates from Rapid Vienna against Dundee United. Both matches kick off at 8 o'clock. Let's get the team news from both games. Our match commentator this evening is Andrew Petrie. Good evening to you, Andrew. You can give us the lineups for Partizan Belgrade against Hibs.
I certainly can. We'll start with the visitors and Hibs. They make just one change from the 11 that beat Dundee on Sunday, and it seems to be what David Gray thinks is his strongest lineup. They line up with Jordan Smith in goals. It looks like a 3-4-3, maybe a 3-5-2 in front of him. Warren O'Hora, Rocky Bushiri and Jack Iredale are the back three, with Chris Cadden and Jordan Abita the wing backs. Dylan Levitt and Josh Mulligan are in the midfield, with Jamie McGrath, Kieran Bowie and Martin Boyle up top. Boyle captains. McGrath comes in for Junior Hoylett, who drops to the bench. The rest of the subs: Salinger, Johnson, Grant Hanley, I'm sure we'll talk about him, Ellie Ewan, Alassane Mane, Thibaut Clige, Hoylett, as I mentioned, Megwa, McIntyre and Campbell. As for Partizan, they make three changes. One is at left back, where Mario Djurcevic returns, while promising youngster Ognjen Ugresic is back into the midfield. Jovan Milosevic is the other change. He starts up front. So they line up with Marko Milosevic in goals, a back four of Milan Reganovic, Nikola Simic, Vukasin Djurjevic and Mario Djurcevic. In midfield, it's a two of Ognjen Ugresic and Yanis Karabelyov. There's an attacking trio of Demba Sek, Milan Vukatic and Nemanja Trifunovic. Up front, as is mentioned, is Jovan Milosevic. On their bench, we have Krunic, Kostic, Nacho, Kalulu, Zahid, Petrovic, Jovanovic, Milic, Jankovic, Alilovic, and another Kostic, that's Bojan Kostic. It's fair to say there's plenty of young talent on show in the Partizan Belgrade ranks. Plenty of teenagers in that team. Maybe not the experience, but obviously Partizan, a huge name in European football. Very interesting to see what they do tonight.
Yeah, big challenge for Hibs. Thanks to Andrew Petrie. Good evening to you, Michael Stewart. Your reaction to that Hibs team, very unlucky in Europe last midweek.
Yeah, it was. And obviously on the back of that, it dropping down into the Conference League here, and it's another difficult tie for them. But I think they're in a good place. I think they're probably as strong a Scottish side that we've had trying to get through the qualifiers in a number of years, and hopefully they're able to make sure that coming back to Easter Road in Edinburgh next week, they're in a good position and capable of still being in the tie and taking it a little step further forward than they were against Midtjylland last week.
Good evening to you, Tony. Where do you see the strengths in that Hibs side?
I think they've got a real attacking threat. I like the front three. Bowie, is developing into a really talented young player, and he looks so much stronger and able to lead the line really well. And I think obviously Boyle's pace. I know the opposition Partizan are worried about that, and McGrath's a good footballer. So that front three, but I think there's a good balance behind that. They'll play Mulligan and Levitt in the middle of the pitch with Cad and Obita picking up those wing-back roles. And what I really like about Hibs at the back is in O'Hara and Iredale, they're comfortable going out into wide areas, good footballers. So I think there's a real balance about that Hibs team. But, you know, how they play it tonight, because obviously it's an away tie, you know, and it's over 2 legs. But they've got real attacking intent in that team, particularly in that forward line, and really looking forward to the match.
What about Rocky Bashiri, Michael? We've spoken about him on the programme. It's one of these remarkable stories, the transformation in this player. Is that down to confidence, to momentum, change of shape? What do you put it down to?
All of the above?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is quite incredible because, you know, a year ago, I think almost universally you would have said, you know, he's got a year left in his contract here, he'll be away from the club. He's got all the attributes but never been able to put it together, and a bit of a liability defensively. But, you know, a year down the line it's all changed. He's got a new contract, understandably so. And when you add to the mix Grant Hanley coming in, who I think is a really sensible signing for Hibs, on top of, you know, other sensible signings, obviously Tony Dock had Josh Mulligan, but I just think those are the types of guys that, you know, the likes of Hibs and Aberdeen and Hearts, when you group those 3 teams particularly, they're the likes of those players that they should be looking to acquire to help to move their club on. And for Josh Mulligan, I think it's obviously a really good move for him at the moment. He goes into a side that are on the up. He's a young player that's got a real good career ahead of him. I think he's got a lot that he can still add to his game, but the raw talent is there. And then you look at the likes of Jamie McGrath, quality. Grant Hanley, you know, experience, can help in the back line. And what they all are guys that know the game here. Now, I know Grant Hanley's obviously not played domestically, but he's played down south. He's a Scottish lad. Those are the types of players that I think first and foremost you should be looking at. And obviously we've spoken at length about, you know, a number of clubs that are dismissive of, you know, those types. But I think Grant Hanley is another sensible addition to the Hibs squad, and I think it shows that they, you know, with how the club is at the moment, that it's certainly another one of our big clubs that seem to be moving in the right direction.
Yeah, they're in a very good place right now, Tony. I'll get you thoughts on Josh Mulligan in just a minute, but in terms of Grant Hanley, it's hard to disagree with Michael. 33 years old, 62 Scotland caps. It looks a terrific signing.
I think so. You know, I've spoke, he's a teammate of Kenny McLean, and I remember speaking with Kenny, and Kenny had said that. He says he's a really underrated, you know, footballer. Real pace, you know, reads the game extremely well, and I think, like Mikey says there, I think it's a brilliant addition to Hearts, the real competition, that back line. But I think, you know, he comes with a real pedigree, and he'll be looking, you know, at the stage he's at in his career, he'll be looking obviously to continue his Scotland career, and he'll be looking to really kick on, and I think it's a great signing for Hibs. I think it'll push them on even further.
Talk to us then about Josh Mulligan, the type of lad he is, the ability he's got, how far he can go in the game.
Josh is a top boy, top player. It's interesting to see him playing the role he's playing, because you know, Josh, for me, his strengths are, you know, his running power, running with the ball, running into those half spaces, and we worked on him quite a lot to make sure that his end product was better, and he really got that last year. And you know, the improvement in his game and the confidence that he showed throughout. But he's playing in a different role now, and I've had conversations with the Hibs management team about that, and doing really well in that role, and I think that will develop him even further. I think Josh is one of the most capped under 21s players, and when you've seen him playing in that Scotland under 21 team, you know, he really thrived in that. And Josh is a confidence boy, he's a brilliant boy, really good type, you know, brilliant, really popular in the dressing room, but a really thorough professional, like most of the young players were that I worked with at Dundee. And he's now playing in a different role. Really looking forward to seeing him doing that tonight. But Josh is one that he's got all the physical attributes. Technically, you know, he works hard in his game. There are areas that he worked on to improve. He's still continuing to do that. And I think, like you said there, you know, I think in Bowie and Mulligan, there's really talented young Scottish players there for the future.
Yeah.
If you look at, and I know obviously Tony's talking about different positions for Josh Mulligan, and I think that you know, playing more centrally, he's somebody that you don't see too often now in terms of box to box. He's got great energy, but if Hibs were to, for example, Triantis was to go back to the club, then you know that Josh Mulligan can go at wing back and be an option, if Cadden was injured, or if you're looking for something just a little bit different. So I think he brings great flexibility to the Hibs side. And very importantly, in the middle of the park, he brings a bit of steel and a bit of physicality, because alongside Levitt, who doesn't have that, you need to make sure you're getting the balancing right. And obviously with McGrath just a little bit further forward, he's got great quality to unlock defences, but I think Josh Mulligan's got a bit of everything. And like Tony's saying there, you look at him, and obviously I've no doubt that the Hibs management team have been picking Tony's brains on this, but they would be looking at Josh Mulligan and thinking, okay, he might not be perfectly suited for this at the moment, but he seems like the sort of guy that will pick things up quickly, and he's willing to listen and learn and adapt his game.
Yeah, it looks another very solid signing. We'll hear from David Gray just shortly. Let's switch our focus to Dundee United there in Austria to face Rapid Vienna. We'll hear from Jim Goodwin a little later in the programme. Michael, have you had a chance to look at the team news from United?
No, not really, but I'll help you out. Yeah, they've made one change from the weekend. Dolchek is out the starting 11, and Will Ferry comes back in and he'll captain the side. With that, it'll be interesting to see whether they stick with the back four that they were playing predominantly at the weekend, or whether they revert back to a back three which they'd played in Europe. I'm really at a loss as to predict that one, because I think they looked better with the back four at the weekend, but with Will Ferry coming back in, obviously he can play that left wing back role, and if it is going to be the back three, it would be Jovu, Esselink and Kerestes the back three, with Seville right wing back, Ferry left wing back, Kamara, Sibbald and Papo in the middle, and then Sapsford and Waters up front.
Thank you. Kamara looked decent, didn't he? Watch the game against Falkirk on Sunday. He looks a decent prospect.
I thought he was very good on Sunday. I really did like him, and I think that system, as Mikey says, it is the strength in that it is adaptable. I thought he did well as a back four. I thought in particular Kerestes did really well at left back, but I know he's a better left centre half stepping in, and obviously Will Ferry gives you that real adaptability as well. So whatever system they put out, and I think it's the personnel that they've got, they can change throughout the game. But you're right, he was the pick for me on Sunday, the game against Falkirk. I think his running power, I thought his athleticism, getting to the break of the ball, I think he looks like a really good player that, he can probably add goals to his game, but he can certainly physically be quite intimidating in the middle of the pitch.
Not to say that goalkeepers are not important. It is Kucherenko in goals, by the way. I didn't bother reading his name out.
You were quite critical last midweek. I was tuned in about the recruitment at Dundee United. Talk to us a bit more about the concerns that you have.
Well, they were better at the weekend. And my concerns were that, and I was just saying to Tony before we came on air, I just felt that with the system that they were playing and may well be playing tonight, it's not a system that every player would be naturally accustomed to. It's quite a nuanced system that takes time to evolve and players to understand what the positions are. And even with that, Jim Goodwin suffered a few injuries to some key players, which is not going to help. Obviously Trapanovski's looking like he's going to be out for almost 3 months. So is Ryan Strain. They're two of his better players as well. And I just think when 9 new players that started the first leg, it looked like it was a little bit foreign to the players. So my concerns were that it just looked a bit clunky. It didn't look comfortable, and there was no real flow to their game for both legs, really. And obviously Jim Goodwin pretty much was saying the same.
Yeah.
They looked better at the weekend, hence why it's going to be very interesting to see what it is that Jim Goodwin decides to go with tonight in Vienna, to see whether he reverts back to a back three, or whether he sticks with that back four and has Ferry playing higher up almost as a left winger.
Jane Lewis is out there in Vienna for us. We'll hear from her later in the programme. We'll also hear from Jim Goodwin. Just before we go back to our commentary match, the Hibs game, Tony, how do you see this challenge that faces Dundee United tonight?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge. I'm confident. I said it before that both teams, I think, over 2 legs will get through. I think Rapid Vienna, was it last? I think they finished 5th in the league last year. So I think, yes, of course they're playing a team with a real pedigree, and they're a talented side. But I think United, certainly watching them at the weekend there, I think there's real, development in that squad, and I think if they can get a result to bring back to Tannadice, knowing what Tannadice is like in a European night, then they've got a really good chance of going through. So I think, away from home, it'll be interesting to see the lineup. As I say, I like the adaptability of it, but I'm sure Jim will be looking to make sure that the team stay in the tie and they bring it back to Tannadice.
We'll hear from Jim Goodwin later in the programme. Our main commentary here this evening is that game, Partizan Belgrade against Hibs. We'll hear from David Gray also later in the programme. First up, let's hear from the Hibs defender Chris Cadden, who relishes these European ties.
I think as a player you've got no choice, you've got to be ready. These are massive games coming. It's good to get the big games coming as soon as possible. This is why you worked so hard last year, and this is where you want to be as a player playing in Europe for a club like Hibs. It's been tough, but it's been good.
Ultimately it was disappointment against Midtjylland, but you take a great deal of encouragement from the performances over the two games.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're a top European side. We knew that. I think we went toe to toe with them, which is good, and sort of shows the strength of the group and the quality we've got in it. We're not obviously happy about going out. We wanted to go through in the tie. That's what we wanted to do, but I just need to get a lot of positives from the performance and with the quality opposition. So there's a lot of positives to take into this Thursday.
How much work have you been able to do about Partizan?
Listen, we've been prepared, but we've been preparing for it all pre-season, and a lot of the things the gaffer is wanting us to do is similar for a lot of the opponents, just a little bit of tweaks here and there. So the boys will be ready, and I'm sure we'll do a bit of work today and tomorrow, and we'll be really ready for the game Thursday. It's a big game, and the atmosphere and stuff like that, we're just all looking forward to it and can't wait. And and our atmosphere next Thursday as well will be pretty good for the Partizan boys to come over to. So we're just excited for the challenge, and can't wait for it. We try to go into every game and try and win it. With the home tie being the second one, if we can come back with a result with Easter Road, then I'm sure the Hibs fans, like they did the other night, will turn out in our numbers. The atmosphere was the best I've probably seen at Easter Road. It was, the first 5 minutes was electric. Walking out there, it was a sort of looking about wow sort of moment for me. And the Hibs fans were great, so I'm sure that if we get a result, which we're hoping to do, coming back to Easter Road, then they'll get right behind us and they'll shout in our numbers again like they always did, and like they did it on Sunday as well. So that's what we'll try and do Thursday. And listen, they'll be a good side, and we know that. It's a European team, so we'll be ready for it though.
Chris Cadden there with Brian McLaughlin. Tony, the Cadden twins bring so much to that Hibs squad. As an opposition manager, how do you counter that threat? Particularly, I think, Nicky down the left-hand side. His delivery is almost second to none, I think, in the top flight.
I think Nicky's real strength, and I think it was a huge part of the revival of Hibs season, was his early delivery. You knew as soon as he got it into that area, the ball was coming in early, and it allows you to fill the box. It allows you to get up and second balls, and his brother on the other side, Chris, he's just such a hard-working boy, and a brilliant boy to have in your team. He would be your players' player every year, and even the way he's talking there's a real excitement about them for the tie. And listen, they're brilliant. I remember being involved at Aberdeen when I was with Derek, 7 seasons in a row, and we were in European competition, and these nights are brilliant. Players love it, staff love it. You train on the pitch the day before, you leave in the plane, you get to the stadium, you do your training session, and it's just nights to savour, and it is reward for what they did the season beforehand. But with players like Nicky and Chris in the team, and I do like the balance of Hibs. I'm looking forward to seeing them tonight, making sure that it is a reward for what they did in the league last year, and hopefully they take the opportunity, and against a good team they show that they're also a good team, and they represent Scotland well.
Willie Miller is having none of this argument about the challenges of playing on the Thursday, Sunday. But what is it like? As you say, you experienced at Aberdeen. How tough is it?
It's tough if you don't have the resources to do it. It's great if you've got enough players that you can rotate. Maybe even 3 or 4. But if you're depending on, like we were at Aberdeen, it was really kind of 13 players for most of the time. It is difficult that if you're playing. I can remember one occasion, I think we came back from Cairo, it was on the Thursday, and we played at home against the United on the Sunday. And just in terms of, the body, getting the body recharged and ready to go again, if you don't have somebody, an able replacement to come into that, it is difficult, and it can affect your league campaign. So I think if you've got the resources to chop and change a bit and to rotate, all fine, all great. But if you're very dependent on the core of your team being that and being ready for every game, it can be challenging.
What about David Gray, Michael? Just talk to us about him. We spoke a lot about him, of course, in the studio last season. There were some moments where we thought, that's it, he's gone. But he was always very very positive, very confident that he was on the right track, things would turn around. Again, we're speaking about Bashiri earlier on. David Gray's story is also a remarkable one, isn't it?
It's incredible, genuinely, and we've spoken at length about it. I don't think I can, give him enough credit and pay him enough accolades to back up what he did last season, because as a young manager in his first job to be coming into a club that's already low, and there's a bit of a toxic atmosphere amongst the supporters because of the despondency that they've been through, and they've witnessed all these false dawns over the last few years. There's inevitably going to be, they're looking for positivity, and as soon as they start seeing things moving in the wrong direction again, it just piles extra pressure on. And for him to have kept his head, and he never hung the players out to dry.
No.
He was critical on occasions, of course, but it was all valid and it was fair. And to continue to be positive, and he kept the players on side. And I genuinely thought that he should have, had a real pop at some of them, because I thought some of them were poor. Not just poor, just looked to me as if they didn't actually care enough. But he was adamant, and he was right. I was wrong. There was a number of guys in there that are still there that I would have looked at and went, no, you need to move them on. But he didn't. He kept faith in them. He kept them on board. And he, by hook or by crook, he slowly turned it around. And you look at Hibs now, as I've already mentioned, the transformation. You now look at a solid group that they've added to sensibly. And also, I can't wait to see Nicky Cadden and Kieran Bowie lining up. It didn't happen a lot last season because of injuries to one or the other. And obviously the start of this season, it's been the same, where Nicky's not been up to speed yet. But the back end of last season, I can't remember what game it was. There was one at Easter Road. Nicky Cadden came on probably about 75 minutes, and he, like Tony was talking about, early ball into the box, and Kieran Bowie, bang, header into the back of the net. And you're just looking at it and thinking, if two of them stay fit, you can just see that happening throughout the course of the campaign. And I'll reiterate what I've been banging on about since the summer. Kieran Bowie's got to be Scotland's number 9.
So. Yeah, I hope so. He's such a fantastic prospect. Take us back, Tony, to the game in November last year, the night your Dundee team beat Hibs 4-1. I think the feeling, I was in the studio that night, the feeling of many was, that was it. His time was up.
I do remember that game well. What I remember getting into the game is we did a lot of the analysis on Hibs, and they were playing really well. Their actual performances in games, but they just weren't getting the break. So obviously we looked at that and we picked a team accordingly. And if you remember that game, they started absolutely outstanding. They went 1-0 up, and then they got a sending off. I think it was a beater was sent off in that
I remember
game.
what happened around that. Was that the LU?
LU was the keeper. But that spoke to me about what was wrong at Hibs. And it's no great surprise that, and it didn't happen overnight. Sorry to interrupt him here, Tony, but it didn't happen overnight, and he didn't hang LU out to dry. He stuck with them, but you notice slowly but surely that type of player, they don't feature much now at Hibs, and I think that's for the better.
Because they collapsed that night. You completely overran them after that.
They did. It ended up being quite a comfortable night for us after the fantastic start that they had. But I just remember David and Liam, who's a good friend as well, coming in after the game. They were really despondent, and I think they were fearing the worst. But as you said, there was criticism over LU, and I never seen it at the time, but that got picked up quite a bit on that. And again, I've had conversations with Chris Carney-Sell. I knew, and even from the analysis, that other players were right behind David because of the way he conducted himself, and that as an example that he could have hung LU out to he backed him, and I think his teammates seen that, and it gave them even more respect for David and even more will to do well for him. And listen, the next game, fantastic by him and Liam and Eddie. They made a change to the team. They changed shape. They went to back 3. They changed the goalkeeper, and at that game against Aberdeen, they scored in the last minute. And I think sometimes over a season, these things are pivotal. When you look back, that was what ignited the season, because it then became, it could have happened against us had it not been the sending off, but it really did bring the confidence to the team that were already right behind the manager, strong as a team unit, playing well, and that just ignited them, as I say, gave them the confidence, and they went on from strength to strength. But I agree with Mikey there, huge credit to David and his staff for sticking by, you know. And that night he was really despondent, and I was delighted for him. I was really pleased for him that they got the rewards for all the work that they've done, and they're where they are tonight as a result of that.
What's he like as a person? I know as part of the SFA coaching team you helped put him through his badges. What's he like?
I remember, I wouldn't say I know him that well, but I remember him being on, because you get to know boys. It was when I was in between, I was doing the SFA A licence course, and David was on that doing his A licence with a lot of players. I think Charlie Adam was on it, Marvin Bartley, Leanne Crichton, a lot of them, and David was just so professional. You know, he took part in every session, but he was always taking his notes. He was always really diligent in everything that he did, and you know, I was hugely impressed with him. You know, and he's obviously that's what he's like. Obviously, as an individual, you know, watching him coaching, he's really diligent, conscientious, and I would, from my experience of that course anyway, did everything, a bit of a perfectionist, did everything to the letter.
And also, Michael, a lot of credit must go to Malky Mackay and the board at Hibs for sticking by their man.
Well, I don't think you can underestimate how important it was just to have that bit of experience in football now on the board. You know, because you could imagine that had somebody like Malky not been there, that there would have been even more sort of anxiety and nervousness floating about the boardroom, and they may well have, you know, pressed or pulled the trigger. So look, it's never going to solve everything, because that's what results do. That's the only thing that really matters. But it certainly would have helped to just have that bit of knowledge and just that little bit of experience to perhaps, you know, just try and calm things down slightly, when I would imagine it would have been, the whole club would, you know, as a, you know, executive management team would have been panicking at that point, because, you know, the last thing they needed was to be staring down the barrel of getting rid of another manager. So I think, like Tony, I'm delighted for David that he turned it around, and that for Malky as well, that he, not long in the door, he's able to just calm things down as well. And him and David Marshall, along with David Gray and his coaching staff, you can now start to see what, you know, quite often I'm sitting here banging my head against a brick wall at times, where there are people, funnily enough, in this country that know what they're doing. And it's good to see that they're at one of the bigger clubs, and I don't think anybody could argue they've turned things around in a year.
Yeah, all going very well at Hibs. They are away to Partizan Belgrade tonight, 8 o'clock kick-off, full commentary to come. Also an 8 o'clock kick-off in Austria, Rapid Vienna up against Dundee United. We'll cross there shortly and hear from our reporter Jane Lewis. That one's live on the telly tonight. Lots of United fans have made the journey out there, and Jane Lewis has been chatting with a few of them.
I would settle for a draw, even a 1-0 defeat, take them back at Tyrnese, because I feel as though Rapid are a bit intimidated with United. You can see by the media stories that they are intimidated, so we'll see.
Confident of getting a result, yeah. Maybe a draw.
I'd say by the odd goal, 1-0 United. I think it's going to be a very close game, a very hard game, but I still see United to win by the odd goal.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be quite tricky, but fingers crossed we could keep it tight, maybe just keep it tight so we've got something to play for next week. We were in Vienna last week.
We're in Vienna now.
We were in Luxembourg last week, and then here this week. Has just been brilliant, absolutely fantastic.
Confident your European travels will continue?
Hope so. I think probably Europe just comes a wee bit too quick for us, because you could see that there's a team there, and every week we're just getting stronger and better, I guess, every week.
It's a tricky tie, but I feel like if Goodwin plays his best team that he's got, because quite a lot of players are injured, but if he plays a decent enough team and the boys just fight for it, I feel like we can get through it. I feel like we just need to go full for it. I need to go attack. We need to get at them, maybe get a couple of goals ahead or a goal ahead before half time, and maybe just see it out. And maybe just see it out at Tannadice, or 2 goals or 1 goal ahead. I even take a draw back to Tannadice would be brilliant.
We're going to win 2-0. They're a big club, a lot bigger than us, but I think we've got the desire, you know, a bit of fight about us. We've been poor to the start of the season, but I think we'll do well tonight. We'll put on a show. It could be another memorable away tie. No matter the score, memories for life thousands of fans in the foreign city. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Dundee United fans there in good spirits ahead of tonight's match against Rapid Vienna. So that's the view of the fans. Let's get the thoughts of Austrian journalist Thomas Mook, who's also been speaking with Jane.
So Dundee United are about to play Rapid Vienna. Tell us what kind of form the team are in. I know it's early days, but they're in pretty good form, aren't they?
It's way too early to say how they are in which shape they are really. The first opponents, they were way below their normal quality. So the next 3 games, there will be the big steps, the big grade, how good the team really is. Peter Stöger, a new coach, he has a new philosophy, new tactic, and tonight will be the game where everybody knows how the players really put the system in them and how they bring it on the pitch. So I think everybody's looking forward to this game tonight.
And tell us about how you think they will approach this game in terms of their opponents, Dundee United. What will they be expecting from them, and how will they line up and approach this one?
On paper, it's a 4-3-3 formation, but I think it will be fluent during the game and during the phases of the game. It could be a 4-2-3-1. It could also be a 4-4-2. It depends on the situation of the game. There are several key players that are quite important for them. Sangaré is their anchor in midfield, the engine. But sometimes, like last season in the Conference League, he has this 1 second where he does stupid stuff, like the tackle last season that was. A quality player like him, he should not do it and get a red card like this. So that's unacceptable. Antist, the new forward, he is a really good player. He loves to go in. He loves the deep runs and pushes also and open up rooms for other teammates. Seidel is also midfielder, the captain. He is the brain of the team, of the offensive team. Nearly every important pass will be coming from him. So it will be huge tonight for the Scottish team to
close him down,
to get him out of the game. So that will be huge for them.
Just tell me about the atmosphere inside the stadium. What can the Dundee United fans expect? What can the players expect on the pitch?
It will be intense. It will be heated. The Ultras, the Block West, they make a great atmosphere. It will be a really fun game, which I'm looking forward to tonight.
Austrian journalist Thomas Mook there. We will hear from Jim Goodwin just shortly. Tony, how would you describe a Jim Goodwin side?
Hard to beat, organised. They'll put the ball in your box and make you defend, but behind that there's a real organisation. So I think that's what they need to be tonight in European competition, particularly when you're away from home in the first leg. If you can bring home, if you get a clean sheet, that's the biggest thing. But if you can bring home a result that allows you to, as I say, use the atmosphere you're going to get in a full house at Tannadice, then that'll be his aim tonight. And that's what'll be interesting to see, as Mikey was saying, whether he lines up as that back four or whether he goes as the three.
What do you want to see?
I think it suits with Ferry being in the team and being adaptable, and Kerris, as I really like as a left centre back. I think a back three with the two wing backs of Savels and Ferry really suits them, and it allows them to play whether they play the two strikers as a two or one up and one off. That would allow them to do that, and also with the three midfielders get a control, and with Kamara, Sibbald and Papo in there, I think there's a lot of physicality there. They win a lot of second balls, and getting back to what you asked me there, that would be a team to me in a formation that looks hard to beat.
Yeah, what actually struck me, Tony, watching the game against Falk on Sunday was they look a big side.
Yeah, they're physical, they're very intimidating, and they get, as I say, they'll get the ball in the box early. Any opportunity they'll get. Will Ferry's got a long throw, they'll put the thing in your box, they'll keep it in the box, they'll ask questions, they'll keep it alive. And that's what sometimes you need to do, particularly in this type of venue tonight. You really need to ask questions, and they'll have a big support, I'm sure, at home. I think they do that, and they get behind their team, and they'll be looking to, like you do at all big venues, you'll be trying to get the crowd to turn a little bit on them, and the best way of doing that is keeping things in their box as long as you can and make them defend.
Michael, do you share Tony's confidence that both these sides will get the job done over the two legs?
I'm optimistic. But I mean, look, they're coming up against two good sides. Dundee United are going to have to perform a lot better than they have so far, because against Strassen, they weren't great, and they managed to get themselves through. But coming up against Rapid Vienna, they're going to have to be a lot better. And for Hibs, it's difficult to say, what we're going to get from Partizan. Obviously a great calibre, but I think everybody had a wee bit more of an understanding of what they were getting from Midtjylland in terms of, their European exploits have been pretty good in the recent past. With Partizan Belgrade, I always think, there's a very strong core of Serbs that are in the team. And Tony will tell you this, I would imagine that when Aberdeen were playing in these European games and they were coming up against sides that are from the Balkans, all really good technically, but sometimes you feel like you can get after them.
Quite a young team, I think Andrew was saying earlier on as well. Yeah.
And that's why I just think that they're very difficult to predict, the clubs for the Balkans. They're the sort of side that you could find yourself 2 or 3-0 down quite easily, but equally you could find yourself, in a great position. That's why I think for Hibs it really is important that there's no need for them to go chasing anything here. Just keep themselves, solid, and make sure that you're in the game when you get back to Easter Road. So difficult to predict, and I think that's just the nature of the area, the world, the Balkans is. The players can be like that. But for Hibs, it's a tough tie. There's no doubt about that. But I do think Hibs are capable.
Yeah, Partizan Belgrade against Hibs. That's our commentary match. It kicks off at 8. There's also an 8 o'clock kick-off between Rapid Vienna and Dundee United. That one's on BBC Scotland. They get underway at 7:45. Let's now hear from the United manager, Jim Goodwin. He's been chatting with Jane Lewis.
Well, Jim, what will be key to you trying to get a positive result here to take home to the second leg?
Well, I think as you can already experience, there's going to be a really hostile environment here for the players. It's a fantastic spectacle in terms of the stadium, and the travelling support over there in the corner are going to make themselves be heard as well. We have to be disciplined defensively. We're going to have to soak up a little bit of pressure at times, but then when we get the opportunity to play, we're going to have to show a bit of courage. And on Sunday against Falkirk, we had some really dangerous counter-attack situations, and we have to make those count tonight.
Is this hostile environment something that you've had to talk to your players about? Because if they don't try and block it out, it can obviously give the home side an advantage, but could be a disadvantage to your side too.
Yeah, I mean, look, we come across games like this at home in our own league campaign, when you go to some of the bigger crowds and bigger stadiums, but yeah, I think you've got to try and use it to your advantage and try and quieten them early on. I think we expect Rapid Vienna to come firing out of the blocks at us and try and set the tone, and we have to soak that early pressure up. But there can't be any anxiety or nervousness. I want the guys to really enjoy it, and to these are the types of occasions that you want to be involved in. You don't want to let games like this pass you by. So we do believe that we've got a chance here to go and give a really good account of ourselves, make sure we stay in the tie and bring it back to Tannadice next week.
Papo and Waters come into the starting lineup. What are you hoping that they will bring to that team?
Yeah, well, I mean, Max obviously got his goal at the weekend against Falkirk. He's a little bit behind in terms of match sharpness and fitness. He came in late to the pre-season, but we'll get as many minutes out of him as possible. We've got Owen Sturton on the bench then, ready to come on and hopefully finish the job off for us. Papo goes in alongside Kamara and Sibbald in the middle of the pitch. Those three in particular are going to be really important for us, especially when we win possession of the ball back. They're going to have to try and slow the game down, try and make everybody calm, and try and be brave on the ball. The Rapid Vienna front four are the real key players in their team. Two really fast attacking wide players. The captain Seidel is technically a very good one, and the big striker Antiste is a real handful. So we're going to have to win all of those individual battles, but there's no reason why we can't come here and cause an upset.
Just finally, I guess it's a real special moment for you. It's another game in Europe that you're leading your side into. Just how much are you relishing this challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a personal note. I'm delighted to be here. I think we've, as I said last week, we've come such a far way in the space of 2 years. A couple of years ago, we're kicking off the league campaign in the Championship against Arbroath. 2 years on from that, we're now here in Vienna about to play in a massive European game. So, you know, we remember the history of this fixture, you know, nearly 40 years ago, and we hope that we can go and repeat similar.
Jim Goodwin there, the Dundee United manager. Updates to come on Sports Sound from Rapid Vienna against Dundee United. That one is on the telly. BBC Scotland, they're just getting underway in the next 30 seconds or so. Jane Lewis is there for us. Jane will bring us regular updates from that game. Good evening to you, Jane. Just set the scene for us out there. It sounds like a terrific atmosphere.
Yeah, it's noisy, Kenny. It's very, very noisy. This Allianz Stadium is a brilliant stadium. It holds around 28,000. That's the capacity, but it's not going to be anywhere close to that this evening. I think we're expecting about 18,000 of Rapid Vienna fans inside the ground. Crucially for Dundee United and their players, 1,000 travelling supporters that have come to this one. But yeah, it's a tidy wee ground. You feel like you're on top of the action. There's no running track round it at all. It's just a pitch up to the seats, so that you're very, very close to the action, and no doubt the players will feel that sense as well, especially if it does get a little bit hostile, because I tell you what, although it's not full capacity, this is a noisy stadium. When I look to my right, where the vast majority of the Rapid Vienna home supporters are housed, there's a standing area as well. It's where the ultras are sitting as well, and they're very noisy. They've had the banners out when the home fans came on to warm up for the pitch. They received an almighty cheer, and there was a little bit of booing, it has to be said, when the Dundee United players come out. But it's going to be a terrific atmosphere. The Dundee United fans, we were in the town this afternoon, the city of Vienna, which is beautiful, by the way. It was lovely and warm. The Dundee United fans were in brilliant voice. I think the more beer they were having, the more the confidence grew in terms of how they were feeling about this fixture. But they've been in brilliant voice, and I think probably the vast majority, now 1,000 of them, as I say, are inside the stadium, and they came in probably about 45 minutes, an hour ago, and they have not stopped singing. They are in brilliant voice. The tangerine of their orange tops, of course, of the Dundee United colours, are in full view. I think they're going to enjoy themselves no matter what, Kenny, but of course they will want to try and see their team bring something to this tie. It's going to be a real big challenge. I think a much heavier challenge than it was compared to the previous rounds, and they'll want to try and keep this tie alive. That's going to be absolutely crucial going into the second leg against Rapid Vienna, of course, in Tannadice next week. But yeah, this evening we're gearing up for what should be a brilliant game, brilliant atmosphere, and yeah, we just hope for a good showing and a good performance and a good result from a Dundee United point of view.
Jane, I hope you were having an expensive beer like Brian McLaughlin was last week and keeping yourself hydrated pre-match.
I was working, Michael, so
okay.
I'm merely
good,
doing the sparkling water today, the sparkling water. No, honestly, it's the weather's been sensational out here. It's been great, and Vienna, I don't know if you chaps have ever been out here, but it's absolutely stunning. And yeah, fair to say the Dundee United fans have been enjoying themselves. But yeah, all work for me, Michael. No beer, no beer as yet.
We heard from that United fan Ella, who couldn't remember which city she was in, so they're in good spirits and actually very confident. I felt that also Jim Goodwin sounded quite confident there. So, from Vienna to Belgrade, and our reporter Brian McLaughlin, who was spotted earlier on in some nifty looking shorts, I do believe. Brian McLaughlin, is clearly very hot out there.
Well, can I tell you, Kenny, the shorts were yesterday.
All right.
And I was refused access to the stadium. I thought, my legs aren't that bad, Kenny, come on.
No great surprise.
The issue was that there are
good to know that our message got across to Belgrade.
I knew you'd be behind it, Michael. I knew you would be behind it.
What's it like out there, Brian? It's clearly very hot, but the atmosphere sounds terrific, just like it did in Vienna.
It's absolute madness here, Kenny. I mean, this stadium, it was built in the late 1940s. There's been a little bit of work done to it. It's all seated now, but that aside, it looks like a stadium that was built in the 1940s. The Partizan ultras, they're known locally as the Undertakers. They're in the stand just to my right hand side. Not a seat to be had behind that goal. There is a running track behind going around the perimeter of this pitch as well. Only a very small band of Hibernian supporters, around 4,500, have made the journey here, and fair play to them, because this isn't an easy place to get to. but they've came again, and as they did a couple of weeks in Denmark, they've followed their team. But yeah, this is a big task for Hibernian this evening. This isn't the Partizan Belgrade of olden days. Some of the local journalists were telling me this basically is a very young team. It's very much in its infancy, and it's a new coach as well. The coach just joined the club in January. They haven't won a trophy for 6 years. The club's been in a lot of turmoil. They're still the second biggest club in Serbia, to be honest with you, but they're miles behind Red Star. They were finished second in the league last year, but they were 27 points behind them. But just to tell you the gulf between Partizan and the next team, Partizan were 19 points clear of the team in third. So yeah, this is the atmosphere's fantastic. I think Hibs have got a real chance tonight, Kenny. There's a number of key players missing for the Belgrade side tonight. And if Hibs started it in Denmark a couple of weeks ago and get a goal up, then who knows, this could really be a night to savour for Hibernian Football Club.
There's certainly a lot of confidence in this studio, Brian. Just before we hear from David Gray, you cover the Edinburgh beat for us. I think it's fair to say a real feel-good factor in both capital clubs right now.
What a season we're going to have, Kenny.
Yeah.
When you've got Tony Bloom saying that Hearts can finish second, potentially finish second this season, and I know he has got ambitions to go much further than that. Hibernian, what a season that they had, certainly from November onwards last season. Finished the season magnificently well. They were very unlucky to go out to a very good Midland team, you'd have to say. I think they're favourites for this tie over the two legs. I would place them as favourites, but keep this tie. A draw tonight would be a fantastic result, and what a night it would be at Easter Road next week. Of course, remember though, Kenny, there is still one stage to go beyond this if Hibernian are going to reach the league stages of the Conference League. But yeah, this would be magnificent, and if you look at the two teams who you'd be facing, potentially Legia Warsaw or Larnaca, you would fancy rather Hibernian against either of those sides. But first and foremost, get through this tie against Partizan Belgrade and then worry about what happens next.
Yeah, but Brian's right. So if they do get through this tie, they will face the losers of Legia Warsaw or Larnaca. They played earlier on tonight, first leg, Larnaca 4, Legia Warsaw 1. So let's now hear from the Hibs manager David Gray. He spoke with Brian just a short time ago.
Well, David, we've come inside because the noise outside is just incredible. What an atmosphere, isn't it?
It is fantastic, as you would expect coming over here. I think I've obviously prepped the players for that as well, knowing what to expect, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a home team in Europe. That is, trying to make it as intimidating as possible, but it's something that the players should all look forward to, in my opinion.
Quick turnaround from Sunday as well, isn't it?
It is a quick turnaround, but I said it already. Once we knew this was coming, the turnaround and schedule, how quick it was going to come. The players are ready for it. That's what pre-season is about. I keep saying that. Helps being off the back of a real positive result and performance against Dundee, and also I reminded the players of the level of performance we put in against Midtjylland in both legs. So that's what's going to be required again. That's a test for the players, but they're certainly all up for it and looking forward to the game.
You've gone with the same team as Sunday. What was the thinking there?
Well, one change for Sunday, the starting team with Jamie McGrath coming back in. It's just, I think at this stage it's a little bit tactical more than anything else. It's nothing to do with individuals' performance and just how we want to approach the game from the start. One thing with this, it's not a normal league game. It's a game that's played over at least 180 minutes, as we've already felt. So the game management that comes into that's obviously very important as well. But the challenge for the players is to try and start the game as well as we can, and as you just touched on, deal with the intimidation factor that's going to be there as well. But the players should be looking forward to it.
What do you expect then from Partizan? Just speaking to one or two of the journalists here, they don't seem very confident at all about this team.
Listen, all we can worry about is ourselves. That's the one thing I do all the time. I'm constantly trying to make sure we're improving as a group, and if we can play to levels that we've already set and keep improving, we're a very good side. Which is, it's good that people are starting to think that way about us as well. That we have been on a really good run for last season. We've started again in the same way, but we need to keep improving. We need to keep working hard. And this test is a very different test to what we had against Midtjylland, but a very difficult one and all the same. We know that. For all the reasons we've already touched on.
How much have the players learned from the experiences against Midtjylland over the last couple of weeks?
I think you're always, after every game, you look to go over the game, whether it's a positive result or a negative result, and you always look to try and take, did what you try and do work, and was there areas in which you need to improve? There always is, and trying to put that balance together. And it's something we've done over both legs, knowing that and you actually think back, so I'll go back a wee bit further, which is when you look at our opposition we faced in pre-season. There was a lot of quality teams that we played against where we felt like there might be times when you don't have the ball for large periods because of the types of team you're playing against and the style of play you're playing against, which is always very different as well coming into Europe, which has gave us a real good sort of understanding of what to expect, and I expect it to be very similar tonight. There'll be periods where we'll have to suffer, but as long as we're suffering in a shape with discipline and good distances between us, the players are ready for that and can cope with that.
Are you pleased to have Grant Hanley finally in the squad now?
Yeah, it's excellent for all the reasons I've touched on about why you'd want to bring someone like that to your football club. He's a proper leader, a man, played at the very highest level, full internationalist that's hungry for more caps, so get him at a really good stage in his career, top professional, does everything right, so you can't have as many of them as you can have in your dressing room, the better.
Is he ready?
He's not had the banking minutes with us, but I think it's something that, as I already touched on, very good professional, someone who really looks after himself. You don't play as many games as you do without doing that, and even in pre-season he's been working with under-23s at Norwich. The fact they've allowed him to go in and train there is brilliant. Also shows his character, that they've actually allowed him to go in and train there, to have him around about the place, and they've seen that as like a positive for the under-23s to see someone like that training with them, so that's a positive to take from our point of view. And he's not had the game time, but he's in really good condition. He's a very experienced player, and we've had conversations about his availability and how ready he is to play.
I know that he's got the number 4 jersey as well. That was Ekpitetas. Is he on the move?
There's been a bit of interest in Marv. It's something that he's not with us tonight. He is exploring some of these options at the minute, and we'll just wait and see how that one goes. But the situation is what it is. I think with Grant coming in, that's something we've decided to do, and whatever happens moving forward, we'll make sure we're as strong as we can be.
David Gray there. Grant Hanley is on the bench for Hibs tonight. Tony, just seen the pictures coming into the studio. It's one of these really old-fashioned looking stadiums. It looks as if it's going to have a great atmosphere there tonight. What's key for Hibs?
I think it's key to stay in the game, and David addressed that there when he was speaking, how it's so important out of possession that they keep a shape, they keep a discipline, and they've got that one thing Hibs have got with their pace in their team and their ability. They've got that real counter-attacking threat, so I think that's really important, and he's worked on that. I know they were at their own stadium working on the tactical side of it, because that's what you do. You don't go away and give the opposition any opportunities to spy on you, so they'll have been doing that. And as he said, in his pre-season preparation for this game, they've played against opponents where, as he said, you suffer without the ball, and it's important that they recognise that as a team, because they've got the ability, this team, with the pace they've got, with the individual flair, that they can really, really hurt teams in the counter-attack. So I would imagine that'll be exactly the style of play tonight.
Team's just coming out, Michael. What are you looking to see from Hibs this evening?
Another strong performance, and I think obviously Brian was touching on it there, and you get a sense of what the locals are feeling and thinking. There's an element of trepidation there, and I think David Gray, without getting carried away with the tie, and without overexposing yourself, I do think they played brilliantly against Midtjylland and started so very brightly. If they're to do that, and I think they should be looking to really go after Partizan early here, because when you're looking at the team, and I'm just actually looking at the ages, it's quite staggering how young that side is. They've only got one outfield player that's over 24. One outfield player. So inevitably there's going to be inexperience there, and quality, yes, but inexperience. And I think if you get after them quickly and try and put it under pressure, it can only be to a benefit for Hibs.
Sounds terrific. We're really looking forward to this. It's time now to sit back and enjoy the actual live updates from Rapid Vienna against Dundee United. But our commentary match this evening is Partizan Belgrade against Hibs in Conference League qualifying with Tony Docherty, Michael Stewart and Andrew Petrie.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Yes, good evening and welcome to the Partizan Stadium. Full of song in the air at the moment. Pitch black outside here in Belgrade, but this stadium lighting up the Serbian capital as the players shake hands. Yes, it's a real test for Hibs tonight against one of the giants of Eastern European football, but Partizan Belgrade have maybe shrunk a little in recent years, perhaps not what they once were. A test for Hibs, yes, but maybe not the toughest. Tell that to the fans inside the stadium though. It's a lovely sing-song at the moment. It's going to turn into a hostile atmosphere. That's what we've been predicting. Almost 30,000 in here. A few hundred brave travelling Hibs fans, they need to show their voice, and their players need to show their best. Although Partizan are going through a bit of a rebuild, a Hibs victory tonight would go down in history. What a time to get it to, the week that the club turns 150 years old. Would be one heck of a present for those fans. A quick reminder of the teams. Hibs making just that one change from the 11 that beat Dundee on Sunday. Jordan Smith in goals, 3-4-1-2 in front of him. Warren O'Hora, Rocky Bashiri, Jack Iredale the back three, Chris Cadden and Jordan Abita the wing backs, Dylan Levitt and Josh Mulligan in midfield, with Jamie McGrath just in front of them, Kieran Bowie and Martin Boyle up top. Martin Boyle, of course, the captain. And they've just exchanged pendants, the two captains. He's got a couple of years on his opposite man, Vanja Dragojevic, 19 years old, and he's captaining Partizan Belgrade in Europe. He's one of 4 teenagers in that Partizan Belgrade lineup. Mikey was not kidding. 22 years of age is the average age of this team. 4 teenagers, like I say, in the starting 11, 10 in total in the squad. It really is an incredibly young Partizan Belgrade side here in Serbia. The referee is about to get us underway. He is Filip Ferrugia of Malta. That's a Maltese officiating team. Chris Kavanagh of England is the VAR. Hopefully don't have to talk about him too much. Hibs about to kick off in their yellow shirts, green shorts and yellow socks. The Partizan fans jumping about behind them. Partizan in their black and white kits, and that's us underway here in Serbia. The ball rolled back to Jordan Smith as he launches it long. A huge night ahead of Hibs. The first leg of this third qualifying round in the Conference League. Still, of course, searching for a place in the group stages of European football for the very first time. And it's fair to say, Partizan Hibs, just a few short years ago, would have been one-way traffic. That's not the way we're predicting it at all tonight, as the ball comes forward towards the Hibs box. Iredale clears away. Partizan just knocking it around on the halfway line now. Like I say, in their black and white stripes, this inexperienced team, but of course an academy that is famed. It's produced so many top-class players. Alexander Mitrovic, one of them, the former Fulham striker. Dusan Vlahovic, of course, now of Juventus. Strhinja Pavlovic, the AC Milan defender. One of the best academies in Europe. As Hibs win the ball back high up the pitch, it's Boyle crossing, looking for Bowie, gets his head on it, and it just loops up into the goalkeeper's arms. But early pressing from Hibs, and it pays off. Tony, not a bad start for the visitors.
Yeah, and I think you can see the shape of Hibs. They're more of a kind of box in midfield. Either Bowie's playing up on his own through the middle, and you've got Martin Boyle to the right, Jamie McGrath to the left, and sitting just a little bit deeper than that, Josh Mulligan and Levitt playing in those roles just in front of the back three, where your wing backs are Cadden and Abita, and that's the system I thought it was going to be. And exactly what they did there, winning possession high up the pitch, getting things in the box for Bowie, that'll be key to getting a result tonight.
Kieran Bowie certainly could be key for Hibs this season. Of course, he had that injury that ruled him out for large swathes of last year, but it looks to already be the year that he might kick on. Of course, he got those first goals against Dundee in that 2-1 win at the weekend. Both strikes that were maybe a bit fortuitous in the way the ball fell to him, but he was in the right place at the right time, and he showed good composure for both of them.
And I tell you what he's just done, he's shown great strength there. I mean, look, this is a straightforward shy, thrown up the park. He's wrestling with his defender. I think it was Simic that he was up against, and he just holds him off. Eventually gets a free kick. All of a sudden Hibs are right up into the defensive third of Partizan.
Such a high line they're holding there for that free kick, Partizan.
It certainly is. The ball comes in now. It's dropped to Martin Boyle on the edge of the box. He tries to get the shot away. It takes a deflection and just bobbles through to Milosevic. Another early sighter for Hibs. It's been a decent start, certainly quite encouraging for those few hundred travelling fans, as Partizan have the ball in their defence, just trying to play it out a bit slowly. Still 0-0 here after only 3 minutes, of course. in Belgrade. Playing through the lines now, Partizan. They're charging towards the Hibs box. They try and play it inside. It comes right the way through to the left-hand side. The cross comes in now. Rocky Bashiri has to head away.
Great header.
Good header from the Hibs defender. But that was just what Partizan needed to kick those fans into life. You can hear them roaring their side on already.
As Tony was saying there, just such an important header as the ball's getting thrown into the box. It's bending towards the goal. Rocky Bashiri's backtracking, and not only does he just stop it from dropping into the defender, into the striker of Milosevic, he gets such a good header on it. He heads it away from all the danger as well.
And Jordan Abita now has to head the ball away as it was launched towards Demba Sek on the right hand side. Now it's launched back down the pitch. Martin Boyle challenging with the goalkeeper and the defender. The goalkeeper's way off his line. Martin Boyle's gone for goal, and it's into the side netting. That would have been one of the best strikes of Martin Boyle's career had that come off, and he wasn't far away at all. Getting in between goalkeeper and defender, causing real havoc, and then trying to chip the goalie from all of 40 yards out. It wasn't far away at all.
Well, the goalkeeper's flapping at it. He's desperately trying to get a touch on it. He is very, very lucky, the goalkeeper Milosevic there. It just inches the wrong side of the post. Martin Boyle running away for the goal on the turn, made pretty good contact with it, but just the way that he has, he's cut across it slightly, and it meant it was never going to be spinning towards the goal, unfortunately.
And now it's Partizan coming forward down the left hand side. The ball cut into the area. This could be a chance. It falls to Sek and it's over the bar. Well, I thought that maybe took a deflection, but the referee has awarded a goal kick. It was Demba Sek with the chance. He boots the turf in frustration. It was a decent ball in. It just came through to him at the back post, and he gets it all wrong. He's leaning back. Jamie McGrath's done enough to put him off, but Sek should do better there.
He should do better, but it just shows you the game's very much up one end and then up the other. I think the important bit with Martin Boyle's chance there was that, you know, with the full-backs advancing so much from Partizan, that the two centre-backs, if Martin Boyle gets his timing right, they end up 2v2 at the back, and they exploited that situation there and almost scored. But it just shows you the attacking intent the opposition have got, and Partizan there, for me, you know, it's a really good opportunity they should probably have taken.
Well, Tony, I'm struggling to hear you over these Partizan fans. They're bouncing up and down in the stands, and that's after a chance that really should have done better, but seemingly not frustrated at all, as Jordan Abita cuts out a ball forward, takes a nice touch. He's assessing his options, just plays it to Dylan Levitt, who's under pressure, and he shovels it on to Josh Mulligan. Now Cadden with the ball. Hibs with a chance to come forward. It has been end to end in the first 5 or 6 minutes, still 0-0 as Mulligan and Bowie press for the ball. Bowie whipping across to the left hand side, and it's Reganovic who just nods it back to his keeper, winning the applause of the home fans. A really entertaining fast start, and it's the youngster Reganovic actually calling for a bit of calm for his goalkeeper as Partizan try and build out from the back again. Ball still with the defence. Well, we said it wouldn't maybe be the test that Hibs thought it would be initially. Partizan in the early stages have shown us what they're capable of. They've gotten into that Hibs box a couple of times, and now the ball out with Sek again on the right hand side, trying to size up the defenders, just knocks it back in the end. Reganovic takes it onto his right foot, just lays it off for Sek. The ball still in the Hibs half at the moment, but Hibs block there working quite well, and Partizan forced all the way back to the halfway line. The slack pass has really put them on the back foot now, and Hibs can settle themselves, regather, get back in their shape. Looks to be Martin Boyle now leading the line. Kieran Bowie out on the right hand side in this current defensive set. Partizan more than happy to play very patient football at the moment, and then they time that ball forward, breaking the line, but it's good defence from Hibs. The ball just bobbling awkwardly. They're able to try and get it away, but Partizan have it back. Sek on the right hand side plays the ball into the middle. Jurcevic, the left back, up to Trifunovic, trying to get it onto that right foot. Instead he just has to knock it backwards. but they look very comfortable on the ball early on, the host, Partizan Belgrade, and they've won the free kick there. I think that was, Chris Cadden, just a little too eager with the challenge, and a decent set-piece opportunity for the hosts.
I think there's an element of frustration as well. Partizan have been popping the ball about a fair bit, but he's given away a free kick in a bit of a dangerous area there. Andrew, you know all day long, I was saying this before, that technically they're going to be very good. And they will pop it about, and they'll show a lot of good technical ability. You've just got to make sure you're resolute defensively and you can frustrate.
You have to be resolute defensively here. The ball comes in and it's flashed just wide. I'm not sure if there's an offside in there.
I think he's offside. I think the line we had was good. It looks like it was an offside.
Well, a let-off either way.
Yeah, they're offside.
As the header flashed by, I think it might have been the youngster Simic, up from the back.
But I think, as Mikey says, there are players that can see real technical ability, and I think what Hibs really need to do, I think Vukitic looks like a really influential player for them, playing just off the strike, and if Hibs can stop those passing lanes into him and try and have them playing in the outside of their shape, I think that'll give them the opportunity to steal possession and, like this, mount a counter-attack.
Because they've done that probably about 3 or 4 times already, where either the deep line midfielder or the centre halves have been able to fizz one about 40-50 yards straight down into his feet. Fortunately at the moment so far, even though he's picked the ball, the gaps between the midfield and defence have been quite tight, so he's not been able to get too much space. But you don't want to be relying on him getting the ball at his feet, but the defensive system will be alright. As Tony says, you want to try and make sure that you don't allow those lines to be open for him to keep passing in there.
And now there's a set-piece opportunity for Hibs. It was Kieran Bowie who won it up against Simic at the back. Hibs again winning the ball higher up the pitch. And it was Warren O'Hora who played the ball into Bowie's feet, and he just held the defender off, used his body well, and wins the free kick centrally, maybe about 30 yards from goal.
Well, he wins it. You can see Simic there saying that he's getting filled, and I think he's probably right, but that's what Kieran Bowie does. And also the rest of the team know it's not about smashing balls up high to him, it's about getting the ball on his feet. He's a great platform to play off, and he's won his side a free kick where, I'll be honest, I don't really think it was a free kick.
Well, Jamie McGrath's just taken it, but I think there was almost another foul on Kieran Bowie in the build-up from Jovan Milosevic. So the referee across to speak to the two strikers, and Jamie McGrath, rather thankfully for him, I think will get a second go at this, because he didn't quite catch it. He definitely is going for goal there, and I imagine he'll go for goal again. So Milosevic, the Partizan Belgrade goalkeeper, rearranges his wall. Jamie McGrath 30 yards out. What's he going to do this time? He has a second bite at the cherry as Bowie continues to make his presence felt among that back line. McGrath goes for goal, and it's a brilliant save from Milosevic. Well, he caught that one far sweeter, Jamie McGrath, and it looked like it was perhaps just bending into the top corner, but the goalkeeper gets a really strong hand on it and tips it behind for a corner.
It's a fantastic strike by Jamie McGrath. I mean, he's almost 35 yards out there, and he's got real pace and power on it as well as the bend, and the goalkeeper really has to do well to keep that out. So really encouraging. And now a set play, they can get the big boys up as well, and the delivery coming in, which is normally on the money from Abita.
Yeah, Jordan Abita to deliver from the right hand side. It will be an in swinger from the left wing back, but it's not the best ball. It bounces before the front post, and it's well cleared away. Curse of the commentator there, as Jamie McGrath hooks it into the sky, and Abita now trying to win it back. It drops to Josh Mulligan. Hibs in their yellow shirts trying to pester this Partizan defence. The ball slipped through by Bowie, but I think it was Dylan Levitt just going a little too early. In fact, it might have been Josh Mulligan, and the offside flag goes up. 12 minutes played, still 0-0 between Partizan and Hibs, and actually that on the replay, not the best decision. That could have been a decent opportunity for Hibs to get the ball into the box. But Tony, what do you think David Gray will be thinking after the first 12 minutes?
I think he'll be relatively happy. I think that issue that we spoke about trying to stop passing lanes into the influential Vukitic playing off the striker. I think we'll be concerned a little bit about that, but I think there's enough of a threat in the counter-attack that Hibs are showing. But he won't be surprised, but he'll see that he's playing against a tough opponent here, and they'll need to be, as he said in his pre-match interview, they'll need to be comfortable out of possession and ready to spring when they get it.
Well, they tried to press Partizan there at the back, but Roganovic did really well. McGrath, Bowie and Boyle working as a front three, really. And again, it's back with the Partizan defence just inside their own half. There's a raucous atmosphere in Belgrade. The Hibs players will really have to stand up to that. As the ball stays in the centre circle now, Partizan once again trying to probe and take their time, pick the right opportunity to get the ball into Vukitic, as Tony was saying, but it's worked all the way back to the goalkeeper instead. He launches it out to the right hand side. That's brilliant play. I think that is Vukitic. He's well away from Abita, and he pings it to the left hand side. Trifunovic on his right foot now. The space opens up, he gets the shot away. Jordan Smith spills and it goes behind for a corner. Heart in mouth moment for the Hibs goalkeeper. No idea where that one went for a second. He seems to shrug it off, but for just a second it looked like that ball might have looped ominously into the net. Instead it's just the wrong side of the post, and almost a goal early on for Trifunovic. Another corner for Partizan Belgrade.
I can shake it off now because it's gone past the post, but it's certainly, as you said, it was heart and mouth for a moment or two there. Warren O'Hara had stepped across, but he slipped and it just opened up that space for the strike.
And the space opens up again for the strike. It's blocked pretty comfortably though, as the Partizan corner comes to nothing, and Hibs trying to come out now, but it's still Partizan with the ball. Dragojevic playing it through, looking for Trifunovic. Jordan Smith able to come out of his goals and just watch the ball behind.
Really impressed with the creativity of their set play there, going short and working it to the edge of the box, and good block from Hibs, but it just shows you again the quality of the opponent. And I think, as I said earlier on, the most influential player, Vukitic, they really need to stop. From that move he's seen there, they really need to try and stop the supply into him.
Of course, Hibs not the only Scottish team in action tonight.
That's brilliant, honestly. Kieran Bowie, just, you know, as a midfielder, a dream to play for as well. With when the ball comes into Dylan Levitt, he can just play blind. He plays it round the corner into an area where he knows Kieran Bowie is that side of the defender. He pins the defender, he then lays it round the corner to his teammate, and all of a sudden they're within 3 passes, they're running in behind the Partizan defence.
But it's now Partizan into the Hibs box, and Jordan Abita slides to block the cross of Dembasek. He did really well there, Abita. The ball comes back in though, and it's bouncing around again, and it's Mulligan who is able to sweep up, mop up, but Chris Cadden's touch is poor, and it goes out for a throw to Partizan on the near side. Just going to say there, it's still 0-0 between Rapid Vienna and Dundee United. Over in Austria will of course be keeping an eye on that scoreline. It's still 0-0 here between Partizan Belgrade and Hibernian in Conference League qualifying. And it's Partizan who have enjoyed far more possession, and they're linking up now. But
see, that's good though, you know, making sure that the defensive shape is tight, so that even if they do get through you vertically, that there's not enough space for them to be able to turn and look and play, and you've got players that are in touching distance. And here's Josh Mulligan. That's just brilliant play for him.
That's when he's at his best, driving with the ball, Josh, driving and making things happen. Great play there. Unlucky with the ball through for Boyle, I think it was.
Yeah,
almost slipped that through to Martin Boyle after a fantastic run from his own half.
But it's that it just take. But you know, this is a sort of game where that is invaluable. The hold-up play for Bowie and that running power from Mulligan, because the two of them, it takes so much pressure off the team.
And Bowie able to get the ball to the left hand side. Abita whipping it towards Martin Boyle in the back post, who keeps it in and then wins the corner. Brilliant play from Martin Boyle. I wasn't sure who Jordan Abita was trying to pick out there. Kieran Bowie wasn't in the box, but he somehow found Boyle, who somehow won the corner.
I'm not sure he was meaning to pick him out quite as high on the cross, but they've got a corner. And the thing that you can say after the first almost 20 minutes is, yeah, Partizan dominating the ball to a great extent, but Hibs looked dangerous. they look like they're capable of hurting Partizan.
It's Abita. This time the corner played short. Dylan Levitt knocks it to McGrath, who curls it towards the back post, but this time the goalkeeper reads it well. He then punches it out. Bashiri lets it drop, as does Boyle, but the ball drops for the Australian international. It's whipped in again towards Kieran Bowie, nodded away, and there is a whistle and perhaps an offside flag. Not quite sure where the foul was there, but the ball will be Partizan's. They've got a free kick in their own box. And it's just played out short. Yeah, Hibs giving as good as they're getting at the moment.
I think that'll give them encouragement, seeing the way the goalkeeper dealt with that. I mean, he should just catch that and start the play, but he punches it, and it doesn't look the most confident of punches either. So I think getting things in the box and keeping it alive in there is a key to getting something from the game.
Ball launched forwards towards Ivan Milosevic, youngster on loan from Stuttgart. He gets it back to Trifunovic, who just works it inside. Partizan, like Mikey said, really technical, really good on the ball. It's Reganovic out to Dembasek, who's on loan from Torino, the right winger. Knocks it inside to Dragojevic. Jurcevic has come up from left back, but it's Martin Boyle back doing his defensive duties, who wins that one, and Hibs just about keeping the ball. Partizan harrying them. It looked like a Hibs free kick, and that's what has been given by the Maltese official. So Hibs once more able to release the pressure that they were under. And it was Martin Boyle who was back and who wins the free kick as well.
It's more great play from Hibs. They've, on a few occasions where you're just getting a wee bit anxious about, they're obviously sitting very deep, lots of bodies behind the ball, and when they're winning the ball back, it can be very difficult when you're like that to be able to hold on to it. But there's a couple of occasions, the one before where Josh Mulligan was driving forward, Martin Boyle there being able to skip past a couple of players and winning the free kick. Just all of that just helps to relieve the pressure, and it just takes the momentum out of Partizan. Otherwise it becomes wave after wave of attack.
That's Warren O'Hora coming forward for Hibs now. He slips it to Bowie on the edge of the box, but just snatched at the shot a little. It was on his left foot, and he ended up just trundling it wide of the goalkeeper's left-hand post. A decent chance for Hibs, and another opportunity that they've gotten from winning the ball high back up the pitch. This time it's Warren O'Hora, the right centre half, who was doing the pressing. Bowie maybe just could have taken a bit more time. He was a little off balance as well.
He's unlucky, but I think that's really important, the transitions. That when Hibs win the ball, they then look a threat, as Mikey said there. But what's really apparent for me is the Hibs players are working so hard for one another. You see that they can be exploited to be a 2v1 in wide areas with the shape of their team. But for example, there on Abita is out wide, you see McGrath getting over to double up with him, and then you see Boyle coming back into an area beyond the midfielders just to win possession back. And there really is a work rate, and in that heat tonight, they'll need to keep that going, but it's certainly impressive at the moment.
Well, Partizan briefly down to 10 men. Vukasin Jurcevic is off. I think he's had a bloodied nose, and Partizan trying to play it out from the back. Hibs putting them under real pressure, but they just get the bounce of the ball, and now the home fans are cheering them on as they come away, and that's going to be a booking for Josh Mulligan. A cynical pullback of Vukatic going over the halfway line. And Mikey, is that one of those fouls that Josh Mulligan has to make?
Do you know, my instinct is no, because I think he's got the legs in him. I think he can actually get back and try and tackle him. It's in the Partizan half. I totally understand what he's doing there, and as you've just mentioned there, it looks like one of those where he stopped the counter attack, but I actually think he could have got the other side of him and actually tried to physically outmuscle him without fouling him so blatantly.
Yeah, it really was one of the more blatant fouls. You'll see two hands on the back, almost ripping the shirt off Milan Vukatic, as Partizan restored back to 11 men. And they've got the ball on the halfway line currently, still 0-0 between the two sides here, still 0-0 in Austria as well between Rapid Vienna and Dundee United. Partizan trying to open it up from right to left. It's Jurcevic, like I say, back on the pitch after that bloodied nose. Simic, just 18 years old, and in the back line of this Partizan side, it's a spine made up of defenders, really. Made up of teenagers, I should say. Ognan Jurisic, one of them. really highly rated, as is Vanja Dragojevic, the captain. Partizan, of course, formerly really a giant of Eastern European football, but transfer bans and financial issues have really cost them, and they've slipped far behind their nearest rivals, Red Star Belgrade. They've still got the ball, just working it round the back at the moment. I was listening to the official Hibernian FC podcast. They were speaking to the Edinburgh Evening News reporter John Greeken, who was saying that he's been watching Partizan and he thinks they're really proficient on the ball, but at the back, especially between goalkeeper and defenders, they can maybe look a little bit nervous on the ball. And have we maybe seen that from the Partizan goalkeeper a couple of times so far?
Yeah, and I think both centre halves, the left-sided centre halves, a right-sided player. So I know they're sitting off it a little bit just now, but I think for me that would be a trigger to press when it goes to him. And we can maybe. Yeah. But Hibs have to, they have to pick and choose when they do that. As I say, it's important that the work rate is going to be over the 90 plus minutes, and the amount of what they're putting into the game just now. But that just might be an area where they see that that can be the trigger for their press to get winning the ball high up the pitch.
The transitions are key as well, because the way Partizan play, Jurcevic, the left back, he doesn't play like a left back in possession. He's drifting in field, and the back four actually flips round to almost being a back three. And as Tony's saying, Simic, the left-sided centre half, is right-footed, but there can be on occasions where he might not have too many options on the left-hand side, because the left back, Jurcevic, he'll drift in field sometimes. So if they just get that block and the shot off the lines, well, and when they win the ball back, as we've seen on a few occasions, down Hibs' right-hand side could be the space where they're able to exploit the gaps. Because over on the right-hand side, Roganovic, the right back, he's just more of he's sitting and he's blocking that position. He's not driving forward as much. He's almost like a third centre half, out of possession.
Almost an opportunity there as Chris Cadden stole the ball. Partizan trying to play it forward, but instead he just played it inside, and Hibs getting their foot on the ball for
good play.
It feels like the first time in a while. It's spread to the left. Abita gets it a little further ahead of him. He was on the underlap there, but instead the ball is worked back to Jack Iredale. Back up the line, Martin Boyle was lurking.
It's good play that from him, because you must have a recognition that you can't, every time you win it, go and counter on them. It's just not possible to do that. So they took the option there of just keep the ball, get a little bit of control of the game, as they're doing just now, and it's important they do that in stages of the game, and they don't just face that domination of the ball for their opponents.
Spend a bit of time on the ball, absolutely key. Just having that variety of the game, because it gives you, the confidence to build into the game even more, and it gives you just the breather. You can relax a wee bit more into it.
Yeah, particularly away from home, it's important that you do that, and I think they're doing it well. I see Martin Boyle's injured here now. Hope he's okay, because he's the biggest threat in the team in terms of that counter attack.
Well, he's just been. It's the defender there, just charged into him as he laid the ball off to Chris Cadden, who then played it out of play.
I'd be astonished if he's not alright. He just looks like it's been bumped, maybe perhaps winded slightly, but I'd be astonished if it was anything too serious.
You still got that image of Scoop in his shorts in your head at the moment. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of it.
Moving smartly on.
Don't try and telepathically send it to anyone else then.
I think we've got a goal over in Vienna. Rapid Vienna 1-0 up on Dundee United. So Jim Goodwin's side behind over in Austria. And that game is, of course, live on the BBC Scotland channel. Stick with us, though. This one's still 0-0 between Partizan Belgrade and Hibernian. Just a little pause in play as Martin Boyle receives treatment. We're approaching the half-hour mark, and really the best chance for Hibs so far has been that Jamie McGrath free kick. He got brilliant whip on it, but the goalkeeper equal to it. Partizan Belgrade have had a couple of chances as well. Nemanja Trifunovic testing Jordan Smith, who could only parry the ball into the sky. It almost looked awkwardly behind him, but ended up just going for a corner in the end. So still 0-0 here in Serbia. And of course, you'd have to imagine if it was 0-0 come the end of the 90 minutes, Hibs head coach David Gray would be more than happy with that. I think the fans would just want the game to still be alive at Easter Road next week. That's really what they'll want from this one. As the ball bounces back to Jordan Smith in the Hibs goal.
Well, as we're approaching the half-hour mark, I mean, look, I think you get a sense of what the game is. They're a technical side, and they're good in the ball. But I don't, I'm not looking at anything and thinking this is going to be a serious test. Of course, it's going to be difficult on occasions, but if Hibs keep their concentration and they keep the distances between the departments of the team, I do think that there's a possibility for them here when they do win possession, counter quickly and potentially get some opportunities here.
And there's a possibility here from the set pieces. Jamie McGrath's fouled by Vukasin Djurdjevic. Not actually sure there was too much in that when we see it on the replay. It's not nearly as bad as the Josh Mulligan one just a few moments ago. But that was again all comes from brilliant hold-up play from Kieran Bowie, just holding off the defender, pinning him behind him, and then just chesting the ball in the air for Jamie McGrath to run onto and run away from. McGrath, though, still down receiving treatment.
He did. Just 100% recognising what is happening there. It wasn't a clip of the heels. It was just purely the Partizan defender catching the side of his boot. It was just his toes on the side of Jamie McGrath's boot. It was completely innocuous. There was no malice in it at all, but all the same it could have been quite painful.
It looks like he's back to his feet now, so another opportunity for Hibs. Tony, you mentioned the high line that Partizan were playing from set pieces. They're doing it again here. This free kick must only be maybe 40 yards out.
Yeah, I'm sure Liam Craig in particular, I think he looks at set plays. I'm sure he'll look at opportunities here. You can maybe get round the outside of them with that high line and then maybe play across the face of the defenders advancing towards their goal. I think that maybe could be a tactic, because it is a really, really unusually high line that they're holding at the moment.
Martin Boyle all by himself in the D, but the ball is just knocked to the side. Levitt tries to play it over the top. Maybe that is one of those moves that you were talking about.
Trying to change the point of the attack, go from one side to the other and then spring a runner, getting in behind them.
Do you not feel there though, that example where Levitt then picks the ball up, he's too central, the lines, it becomes quite straight.
It has to go more wide.
It has to be wider, right?
Yeah. I'm sure they'll recognise that, and that'll be part of the strategy in the second half.
I mean, because in theory, like exactly basically what you were talking about, you're trying to change the angle, try and almost get behind them, but where they shifted that to, it was quite a flat, straight ball that becomes very difficult to try and play.
It's Partizan who have the ball back, trying to go up that right hand side and find Demba Sek, who was quite lively early on. He's faded out of the game just slightly as Josh Mulligan tries to turn away, but it's well won back by Milan Vukatic, who really seems to be the standout in this Partizan Belgrade side.
Great play from Mulligan.
That's brilliantly won back though by Josh Mulligan in the midfield. And Hibs again just choosing this time not to counter. Like you say, Tony, they can't counter every time, and this time they want to just keep their foot on the ball a little longer as Jordan Abita knocks it inside to Mulligan. Takes the touch, draws the defender, just plays it back to Bashiri. Now out to Warren O'Hora, really more in the right back area.
Yeah, and like this, they gain confidence in possession. The more touches of the ball the centre halves get or the midfielders get, the better they feel about it and the more they want on it. So it's getting that balance right.
This time the ball forward is cut out by Dragojevic, and it's over to Milan Marjanovic, the right back. He just knocks it back to Nikola Simic. Hibs and Partizan Belgrade still 0-0 here.
See, there's another example where on the left hand side they just, with the inverted fullback, the Slovenian Jurcevic, he's drifting inside, which sometimes you're looking at passing up that line into the wide man being opened up, but I don't know whether Chris Cadden's getting touch tight and putting him off, but a lot of the time when it's coming out to Simic now, he doesn't actually want to be coming down here. He's going back in field a lot.
I think you're spot on with that. I think it has to come inside on his favoured right foot, and that should then be the trigger.
Yeah.
Hopefully if the Hibs players, the front three, can get closer to that, they can nick the ball and mount a counter attack. I think that's a really, really key point.
We've got another goal in Vienna. This time it's for Dundee United. Max Waters has scored to make it 1-1. We'll be keeping you up to date with that as Partizan, the ball drops. Rocky Bashiri with the goal line block. That's brilliant from the Hibs defender. It looked for all the world that Partizan were about to go 1-0 up on Hibs, but somehow Rocky Bashiri has saved the day.
I think he's hurt.
And he heads the ball away and then goes down. Play still going on. Kieran Bowie charging up the pitch. He wins the ball and then goes down. And it will be a free kick, and it's another card for Partizan Belgrade. In fact,
he's off.
This could be a red card for Vukasin Djurdjevic. It is. Partizan are down to 10 men. Drama at one end and then at the other. Rocky Bashiri clearing the ball off the line, and a minute later Partizan are down to 10 men. Kieran Bowie's persistence winning the foul, and Djurdjevic, who had just been booked for fouling Jamie McGrath, has seen a second yellow card in a matter of minutes. This is a huge moment in this tie.
Kieran Bowie is an absolute beast, honestly.
It's brilliant strikers play that, and do you know what? It is an element of inexperience in the young centre half. He's made this really silly challenge there, but brilliant for Bowie, as you say. This is just the clearance that it does hit Bashiri's hand.
Now, of course, there is VAR as well.
It doesn't matter. No,
I don't think it does.
It's his head and then his knee.
Yeah.
But it's bobbling about, and Vukatic shouldn't have given Rocky Bashiri a chance. You know, he's fortunate. He almost catches his studs and he doesn't get good contact on it. Hibs able to clear the lines up the other end, and then Kieran Bowie just making himself an absolute pest. You know, he just outmuscles the defender, second best, and he's on his bike. I didn't actually realise. I mean, I knew he wasn't slow, but he actually looks really quite quick.
Really? I think the improve. I think the development in Kieran Bowie. I remember we looked at the start of last season. He was at Fulham, and he's obviously done a hell of a lot of work. You know, with his upper body and his strength. He just, as you say there, he looks such a specimen at the moment. And you know, playing against big centre halves, he's got the run in him. He looks quicker than them. He looks stronger than them. And yeah, he's been hugely impressive tonight. And he's now got a fantastic foothold in the game for Hibs by the opposition going down to 10 men.
See that one earlier on where he got slipped inside and he took one touch and he choked his shot? I actually don't mind that either, because he was trying to strike it so early and he did choke it, but you just see he's confident.
The ball comes in from the free kick, it's nodded on and it goes behind for a goal kick, but Hibs now with the man advantage. Still 0-0 here in Belgrade, but a red card for one of the Partizan defenders, Vukasin Djurdjevic, who will play no further part in this game after fouling Kieran Bowie. 2 yellow cards in just a matter of minutes. And now how will the hosts react? They are seriously on the back foot.
It was just pure desire from Bowie as well. I think it might actually come off his hand, and then as the two of them were challenging and the ball ricocheted forward, but it was just pure desire from Kieran Bowie. He was going to get the ball. That was it. No other thought in his mind. I'm winning it.
But now it's Demba Sek coming forward, trying to play in Jovan Milosevic, but the ball cut out. And Rocky Bashiri, we said we thought he'd maybe picked up an injury. Seems okay. He's continuing at the moment as Martin Boyle is the latest Hibs player to put a Partizan defender under pressure. Didn't quite work this time, but wasn't a million miles away. As Kieran Bowie tangles with another Partizan player and then blocks the ball. It's an all-action night for him tonight.
They're letting the ball bounce, Partizan, when the ball's coming forward, and you can just tell they're rattled a bit. And this is exactly, it's the typical Balkan style of, technically very good, but then you can really get at them. And when something just goes against them, you can tell it unsettles them. And certainly at the moment, they look just a little bit unsettled.
The ball now with Demba Sek again. It's just knocked back into the Partizan centre halves. They were so close to a goal there, like you said. Mikey Vukatic probably should have done better. It was a ball across from the right hand side. I think it was Milosevic in the middle, let it run to Vukatic, and it looked for all the world like he was just going to roll the ball past Jordan Smith, but he didn't make a clean connection, and Rocky Bashiri somehow managed to stretch and header the ball and then kick it away. He was contorting his body to make sure he didn't handle it as well. It was an incredible bit of defending, and it seemed like the game's just hinged on that moment, and now Hibs really in the ascendancy. They have the man advantage for a long time in this game now.
I think you could see there, you can see the body language of the Hibs players. They've had a huge lift from that. You can see the energy levels have went up right from the goalkeeper's kick there. The press was really high and very aggressive, and what we were speaking about earlier on, they look as if they're getting after them, and there again they're in a good area of the pitch here. And
there's a chance for Bowie if Cadden can find him. It's blocked by the first man, and it's a corner, and it was lovely link-up play up that right-hand side.
That's confident football from Hibs. It really is. Just 1 and 2 touch football, 4-5 passes, and all of a sudden they're breaking in behind the Partizan defence. I think David Gray, approaching half-time here, will be absolutely delighted with how the game's panned out, recognising that there's still a danger in this Partizan side. But I think, inevitably when you're coming at this game, there is an element of the unknown as well. You don't know how your team's going to perform. You're hoping you've done all your work on them. Now, after this first half, I think you'll be even more confident and have more belief that they can actually come here and get a victory to take back to Easter Road.
Well, they've got the corner. It's just been delayed. A Partizan player was bundled into the back of the net for a second there, and the Maltese referee is having a word with Rocky Bashiri and Ognin Ugrasic. Jordan Abita will take this corner momentarily. He prepares to whip it in. Lasers being shone in his face. He gets it in. It comes to the back post, and Hibs are ahead. And who else but Martin Boyle firing Hibs into the lead in Belgrade.
I don't know who got the first contact there. Was it Bowie? But it was fantastic. His touching the ball, the first contact, allows it to get into the path of Boyle, and it's a brilliant finish. Good delivery from Abita that, uncharacteristic. His first one hit the first man, but it's the first contact from the Hibs player that makes it go. We need to clear up who it was.
But I tell you what though as well, it's a good finish, because as that ball's coming at a fair pace to the back post, I think it's O'Hara.
It's O'Hara's first touch. Yeah. Brilliant touch, great first contact.
Yeah, that's a good finish. Coming at the bit of pace to the back post, it's bouncing just in front of Martin Boyle, and he controls that really well. It's past the goalkeeper Milosevic, he's got no chance with it. And look, the frustration just grows even more for Partizan. They're down to 10, they're 1-0 down. Martin Boyle celebrating, and they're getting annoyed at the fact that he's even daring to, well, I say go at the fans, but they're still a million miles away because they're running track. But they're not happy with him. No.
Yeah, he's a braver man than me, Martin Boyle, cupping his ears to that Partizan Belgrade crowd. I certainly wouldn't be doing that. I thought there might be a VAR check. There was maybe a hint of offside. That's not mattered apparently. The goal has stood. Hibs are 1-0 up here.
You look at this, the Hibs team, the energy in the Hibs team, how much they're getting after.
There's another chance. Kieran Bowie with the header, and it's Milosevic with the save. It was the ball in from the right hand side from Chris Cadden, but Partizan try and counter through Demba Sek, but Jack Iredale there to batter the ball away, out for a throw-in. But Hibs pressing for an immediate second. God, this could have been the first half of their dreams.
So dangerous, and go on a lot about Nicky Cadden's delivery, and it is incredible, but I've always thought Chris Cadden's delivery is no bad, and that is it, with the right foot, whips it in. I don't even know whether Kieran Bowie gets great contact on it.
I don't think he does, but I think it's
again just his presence.
His presence, yeah. It's been the perfect half for Hibs, at the moment, and you're right, they could have gone in 2-0 to the good, but at the moment
goes on there. Yeah, I thought there might have been a little VAR shout for a handball. You said it didn't come off Kieran Bowie. I wondered if it came off the hand of Simic and towards his goalkeeper.
Yeah, Partizan look a bit rattled now. They're kicking the ball out of the pitch here. Their captain's been back to centre half, playing as a left side centre half, and they do look a little bit rattled. And as I say, the energy levels, the body language of the Hibs team is really, really strong.
I think, Dragijevic is capable of playing centre-half. The 19-year-old broke into the team last season and made himself a real regular.
He'll not be looking forward to playing against Kieran Bowie.
No, seriously. He won't. It's been a fantastic performance from Kieran Bowie, and what looks like so far it's his coming-of-age season. Of course, he got that cap for Scotland at the end of last year against Liechtenstein. And at the moment, he looks like he's going to be in the Scotland squad when it's announced in a few weeks. As the ball comes in, big chance for Hibs to make it 2, but it's wide of the post from Jamie McGrath. The ball floated in from the right hand side. McGrath completely unmarked, ghosting in at the back post, but he glances his header wide. And as he lay on the turf, this Partizan stadium was silenced because they thought that was 2-0. Oh, he should have done better.
It's a brilliant pick out from Josh Mulligan, finding McGrath, and he's got to score. I know it's maybe a wee bit.
Has he mistimed the jump?
Mistimed his jump, maybe, but he should go back across the goalkeeper. But what a pick out from Mulligan.
Partizan Belgrade coming forward. Dembasek hits the floor and he's waved to his feet by the referee.
Good refereeing. Good refereeing.
Rocky Bashiri helping him back to his feet.
I mean, that chance for Jamie McGrath, huge. I mean, you're talking about in the last couple of minutes here, Hibs have gone 1-0 up and they've had 2 unbelievable opportunities. The first one was just good play, and the keeper has to make a save. That one there, I'm with Tony. He's got to score, but I think he mistimes the jump slightly and he ends up, just contorting his body a little bit, rather than if he's in, times it perfectly, it then becomes a hell of a lot easier to put it where he wants to put it. But more positivity for Hibs approaching half time here.
Yeah, Hibs leading here in Belgrade. Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibs 1. Unfortunately, there's been another goal in Vienna and it's gone to the host. Rapid Vienna 2-1 up on Dundee United. Seidel with the goal there. So it was Dahl and Seidel who've got the host 2-1 up. Max Waters who's got the goal for Dundee United. Of course, we'll keep you up to date with that one, which is of course as well on the BBC Scotland channel. But here, BBC Radio Scotland, it's coverage of Partizan Belgrade against Hibs, and it's the visitors in Serbia who have the lead. They're trying to get the ball forward now. It's flicked on towards Kieran Bowie, but he couldn't get the right side of the defender that time. Milosevic playing it a bit risky as Vukotic drops into his own box to come back and get the ball, but it's Belgrade who have broken that press. It's maybe not the best ball out. In fact, it's come to Trifunovic, who then knocks it forward looking for Milosevic. Rocky Bashiri lets it bounce. There's a shout for something. Was it a handball, a tug of the jersey maybe? Either way, the referee currently not interested. We're going to have 3 minutes of additional time here as well.
There's a foul on Rocky Bashiri. Milosevic just barges into the back of him and he's saying it comes round and it hits Rocky Bashiri's arm, and it probably does, but the referee, he saw it. It was the challenge for the striker in the back of Rocky Bashiri.
Yeah, it definitely does hit Bashiri's arm. It'll be interesting to see if we come back for that one. I'm not sure we will. Play going on at the moment with Jordan Abita on the left hand side in the Partizan half. He's done well to keep the ball. He's down to the byline, crosses it in. Boyle rises, it could drop for Cadden. It's deflected just wide, is it? Or is it just a goal kick? Either way, the ball behind the goal. And the way Chris Cadden's running, I think he knows he's put that one wide without the aid of a Partizan touch. Could he have done better there?
Yeah, I think he gets caught over it. It's very close to his body. He's struggling to get his feet set to get it on target. But Andrew, a lot of good play from Hibs. But all of that again comes for Kieran Bowie just being so clean in his play. The ball comes up to him, one touch, and it's no cut out. It's straight to his teammate. The counter, well, not even a counter attack. The attack can continue. The momentum's still there.
There's a foul from Josh Mulligan. He has to be a little careful. Of course, he's on a yellow card. Partizan coming forward. Trifunovic. The ball blocked by Chris Cadden, and it just comes through to Jordan Smith, who dives on it. And we'll hold on to it for a little while as we near the half-time whistle, I should say. And the Hibs fans in that away end are raucous. They're enjoying themselves tremendously. It's been a fantastic first half from their side. Partizan down to 10 men. Martin Boyle has put them 1-0 up. Can they get a second before the break? Mulligan to McGrath. Bita's made the run on the left-hand side. Hibs have worked the ball really nicely from coast to coast there. Comes back to Jordan Abita. Chance for him to whip the ball in. Not the best cross though. Easily picked off by Ugresic. But then his pass is poor. It's just behind second. It's Dylan Levitt battling for it. And he wins it back. Mulligan just knocking it to Cadden.
They've gone. Partizan have absolutely gone.
They look tired out there as we...
They look young. They look inexperienced. They're looking towards each other. Who's going to grab the game? Who's going to force the issue a little bit, and I do think they look lost. They need half time. If Hibs could capitalise on this and get another goal, it'd be richly deserved, because since the sending off they've been so dominant now and created so many good chances.
Partizan needing that half-time whistle. It will come in about 10 seconds time, you'd imagine. Hibs quite happy to just keep hold of the ball. They'll take 1-0 at the break.
I'm with Tony. I would be, especially in those areas there, I wouldn't just try and see it out. I would have been putting one in the box there.
Well, there is the half-time whistle, and what a first half it has been for Hibernian. Djurdjevic, the Partizan Belgrade centre-half, sent off after 2 quick yellow cards, and how quickly did Hibs make them pay from the next corner. Jordan Abita whipped it in, it was knocked on at the front post, and Martin Boyle was on hand at the back post to lash the ball home to give Hibs the lead at the hostile Partizan Stadium. It's been an incredible first half from the Hibees. What can they do in the second? We'll have to wait and see. Half-time in Serbia. Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibernian 1.
Hibernian in the UEFA Conference League qualifiers.
Live on Sports Sound.
From BBC Radio Scotland.
In Destination X, 13 players compete for £100,000. All they have to do is guess where in the world they are. Easy, right? Wrong. You see, they're on a bus that's driving through France. Maybe it's Germany. Wait, was that the Leaning Tower of Pisa? They don't know who or what to trust. Sometimes they can't even believe their own eyes. I love it. Welcome to Destination X, the new game show where nowhere is as it seems. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
You're listening to European Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland. So far, so good for Hibs. 1-0 up away to 10-man Partizan Belgrade, and they're dominating the shot count there. They're dominating shots on target, dominating corners. Very, very good from David Gray's side. It's a double header for Scottish clubs this evening. Dundee United are away to Rapid Vienna. Let's get to that game there. Our reporter Jane Lewis is there for us. What's happening, Jane?
Well, they're still playing, Kenny, although I would imagine the half-time whistle will go very, very shortly. That's not great news from a Dundee United point of view. It's Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 1. There was a blow early on for United as well in this one. Injury to Isaac Pabu as he was stretchered off and looked fairly distraught when he left the field. But they did settle down after that, and although they were up against it as Rapid Vienna were really on the front foot pushing forward, their defence did stand pretty firm. That is until the 29th minute. That's a half-time whistle now, and they allowed an unchallenged cross to be floated in from the right. They just didn't deal with it at all, and Peter Dahl ghosted into the middle of the 6-yard box to strike home. But then on 33 minutes, some really good play from a Dundee United point of view. A brilliant run, full of intent from Zach Stafford. He provided a sublime cutback from Max Waters, who ran onto it and scored to put United level. Well, after the goal, there were some really hairy moments for United, it has to be said. There was some sloppy play, there was a bit of switching off at the back as well, and you thought to yourself, it's going to be not long before they're punished, and that punishment duly came. They tried to clear the initial danger when the ball came into the box. They didn't deal with it well enough, and Matthias Seidel was there to pounce on the ball and roll it into the back of the net. United, it's fair to say, have been up against it. They have been defending fairly resolutely at times, but as I say, there's also been some switching off. There's been a bit of sloppiness at the back as well. That's something that Jim Goodwin will want to talk to his players about in that half-time jet dressing room. The team talk will be taking place now, and they'll come back out for the second half trailing 2-1 in this first qualifying leg.
Thank you to Jane Lewis there live from Vienna. Tony Docherty. We knew it was a tougher challenge this evening for Jim Goodwin's side. They're still in the game, and that's the key thing. Take it back to Tannadice and give yourself an opportunity.
Listen, 2-1's not a bad result away from home if they can keep it at that, and obviously try and get another goal. It'd be a fantastic result to come back with a 2-2, but they've just got to stay in the game. As we said at the very start of it, they are facing a difficult opponent, a really hostile atmosphere, but this is when it's really important in terms of game management and seeing the game through, and I hope they do that.
In contrast, Tony, our commentary match this evening, absolutely fantastic first half performance from Hibs. 1-0 away to 10-man Partizan Belgrade. That goal coming from Martin Boyle on 40 minutes. They've just looked, I know there's been a couple of hairy moments at the back. We'll get to that. Rocky Bashiri's been outstanding, but they've looked fairly comfortable in the game. They certainly looked the better side.
I think the early stages of the game, you've seen the quality of Partizan. You know, they were technically very good. They were finding their danger man in Vugatic. They were, you know, getting through those passing lanes of the Hibs shape, and they were caused a few problems, and I do think they should have went one up. You know, they should have scored. They had a couple of chances to score, but then Hibs, you know, as I said at the time, grew into the game. You know, they were picking and choosing when to counter attack, when to keep possession, and listen, I do think the inexperience of the Partizan team showed there, particularly in the back line. You know, it was a poor decision by the defender, but I couldn't agree more with Michael in terms of the display from Kieran Bowie. I think when you're playing the system that Hibs are playing, the most important player in that system for me is your number 9, and I think, you know, the link-up play, the licence it gives to midfielders to run off him. Kieran Bowie's given them all of that, but he's also given that, you know, threat in front of goal, and he's given that physical presence that's allowed his team, you know, his teammates will be thanking him in that dressing room, because he's ensured that they've went down to 10 men, the opponents, and now they're really, really, since that happened, as I say, the body language, the energy, the performance level of Hibs has been outstanding, and they could have went in 2 or 3-0 up, and hopefully they can carry that on. It'll be interesting to see the change and shape that Partizan maybe make, but I think Hibs are very much in the ascendancy, and hopefully continue that in the second half.
And you were saying earlier when you were at Dundee, you were having a wee look at Kieran Bowie when he was down at Fulham. What were the reports coming back?
Oh yeah, listen, really strong, good young player with potential. I think that's the biggest thing. But I think what you're now seeing in Kieran Bowie, and it's huge credit to Hibs and the staff, you know, that he's beginning to look like he's realising that potential. He looks, as Mikey said in commentary, he looks a real specimen physically. He looks a goal threat. But the most important thing about him is he gives his teammates such assurance in possession. You know, that his possession stats, I'm sure we could see them. I think he's kept the ball all night, and that, as I say, in that system is pivotal to you getting up the pitch to mount counter attacks, and you know, he really is very much realising that potential, and I agree, if he keeps going in this way, I'm sure Stevie Clark will be thinking about him being an addition to the squad. Yeah, we spoke about him before the game, Michael. He looks a special talent, Kieran Bowie. He offers an awful lot, something a wee bit different. As Tony was saying, he's key to the shape that David Gray plays, and he's just been playing his position so well tonight. Very strong player.
He's a sort of guy, I mean, obviously for a striker it's a wee bit different. It's not as nuanced if you're playing different systems, but in this tie away from home, it just becomes all the more important that you're clean in possession. You're not giving the ball away, and it's just another wave of attack that's coming on the team. Not only is he holding up and winning free kicks, he's linking it. The attacks are able to continue, building. And when it gets in and around the box, he looks a real threat, as Tony was saying. An all-round performance. He's an all-round striker. He's got a bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And by no means is the only one in the Hibs team, by the way, because it's been a good performance all round. From David Gray's perspective, he'll be looking at that first half and going, it's not, a huge surprise. They've done very well. The moments have gone their way. When you think about the first save from Smith, that was a little bit loose, but it goes past the post. A couple of dangerous moments. Vukatic should have scored. Go up the other end and the sending off happens. But the overall play, the first 15 minutes, they've got a lot of possession. They look like they're getting into some dangerous areas, but Hibs are quite well structured. And then they frustrated them. And then when Hibs have won the ball, the important thing is that you're defensively sound, but also when you do have the possession, you're not just wasting it. And as we've said, Bowie's holding it up well. They've built the game. Mulligan's stretching his legs at times. Boyle's looking dangerous in behind. I just think the overall performance from Hibs has been one that David Gray will be very, very happy about, but there's still a lot more that can come from it. I genuinely believe there is more in the game for Hibs, especially with them being down to 10 men.
Yeah, they could take a decent advantage back to Edinburgh next week. Tony, talk to us a bit about Rocky Bashir, another player we discussed earlier. He's all action. He's a great watch, isn't he? He's one of these guys that's just totally committed. He gives everything.
He defends his penalty box very well, and one thing I've been impressed watching the game is that he's a real organiser. Any time the the ball was played sideways or back the way from Partizan, he was getting his back three squeezed up and, getting the lines tight, as Mikey was saying, with his midfielders in front, Levitt and Mulligan. One thing I think might be a wee consideration for David Gray is, but because they were so dominant when it went down to 11v10 there, they don't want to give any advantage away from that. And Josh Mulligan's been booked, and it might be something that David Gray's thinking about. Just make sure you eliminate any chance of the opponents getting back in the game. So it might be something. I hope not, because Josh is having a very good game, and as you know, I'm a huge fan, and I hope he does stay on. But it might be something that the coaching team are thinking about, because you don't want to give, the way the game is now, Hibs are very much in the ascendancy, and I think they could go on and score another couple of goals if they play the same way they've been playing, but they don't want to tempt fate and allow it to go parity with 10v10.
Yeah, we'll hear from David Gray after the game in Belgrade this evening. Also, we'll hear from Jim Gooden. They are trailing 2-1 at the moment away to Rapid Vienna. That one's on BBC television. We'll bring you updates on Sports Sound. Michael, just when you look at we're seeing the Hibs starting 11 tonight, but when you look through their squad, do you see a real strength and depth now? Do you think he's got decent cover in most areas?
Well, obviously we've been talking about Grant Hanley coming in. I think that's very good. I still think that there's space for Triantis to come back, because I think he comes back and it brings options for the side as a whole, in terms of, as I was saying before the game, Mulligan can play right wing back, or you can have him and Triantis in the middle of the park if you're wanting a bit more physicality certain games. So I think there's space for another midfielder of that type, and especially just that quality. It's not to say that I'm trying to think of how often I've seen Mane a little bit. I think he got sent off in his first game. I think that was right, but there's been moments that I've seen of him, and the big money signing Klidge, I've not seen enough of him to say one way or another whether it's they would need anything else up the top end of the park. But I think generally, when you look at the other thing I would say is, I still feel as if goalkeeper, and John Smith has done incredibly well since he came in at the Hibs side. I'd still be wanting, and Salinger's obviously on the bench and they brought him in, but I would still be looking at, personally, wanting a stronger goalkeeper. So for me, a goalkeeper and a centre mid, and then depending on what happens at the top end of the park, maybe another striker.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the bench tonight, a player we've spoken again about a fair bit in sports, and Ellie Ewan is on the bench tonight. We know what Junior Hoylett can do. It looks, Josh Campbell there, it looks a decent squad now, Tony, doesn't it? And Hibs are spending money and they're recruiting well.
Well, what I was going to say, I've seen quite a bit of Thibault Klidge, and for me, he's a Togo international, 16 appearances, and he's got a pedigree. He comes from it was Bordeaux, and he's got a pedigree as a striker, and I seen him very much like the type of striker that would really combine well with Bowie if David wanted to use that option of going as a front two. The system's working fantastically well now, but for me, what I've seen of him...
Were you looking at him, Tony? Is it something a player you were looking at potentially for Dundee, or...?
Well, no, it's somebody I've seen through the work permits.
Right.
And I'd seen a bit of footage of him, and I looked, and I really liked his style of play. He really reminded me of if you remember, a kind of Nicky Maynard type, a Danny Cadamartri type, a one that really benefited playing off a big striker as is Bowie. And I think over the course of a season, I think he'll be a really influential player for Hibs as well. So yeah, I do think it's a strong squad. I agree with the guys, what Mikey was saying there about maybe midfield cover, and Triantis would be a fantastic addition if they manage to get that done. But certainly in Klidge, they've got a striker there that will, as good as they are tonight, will even further bolster that attack.
So what will the message be, Michael, from David Gray in the dressing room right now? Tony's saying he might be looking at potentially Josh Mulligan, taking care of him, but you feel the way they finished that first half, the game's there. Get a couple. I'm not saying they could kill the game tonight, but could go a long way to it.
Yeah, get after them, and what they did there in the first half, it wasn't as if they were going after them when they were exposed. They had a good balance to the team. So the message to them would be exactly what you've done in the first. Even when Partizan had a lot of the ball in the early stages, Hibs were still ready to pounce. And they were pressing on occasions high up the park as well. I would be, hammering home that message even more, that look, this side's on the ropes here.
Can you sense that when you're on the park? We're watching it here.
Of course you can.
You can sense it, body language.
And you can see it here. So we can see it here. When you're on the park, you feel that yourself. You feel like we're on top here. And you've almost turned it on its head here, where it's like you're in and around their box, you're winning the ball back quickly, it's wave after wave. You get the sense of like we're really on top here. And they need to make sure that it's a little thing, but it's not, it's not going to make a massive difference. But as half-time was approaching there, they were keeping the ball. I would have been just looking to try and get it into the box again, because you've got that feeling of they're gone, try and get the second. Half-time's only around the corner.
Well, let's hope they can build on their advantage. Time now to sit back and enjoy the action once again. An update from Rapid Vienna against Dundee United will bring you these. But our commentary match this evening is Partizan Belgrade against Hibs in Conference League qualifying with Tony Docherty, Michael Stewart and Andrew Petrie.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Yes, we're getting ready for this second half. We can see the Partizan Belgrade fans currently, they look pretty disgruntled. Might be a long 45 minutes in store for them, down to 10 men and 1-0 down on the scoreline. Hibs with the lead thanks to that Martin Boyle strike, his 100th for the club as well, and what a night to get it. Martin Boyle, he's been so influential for Hibs in recent years, and he might just have them one step closer to European group stage football for the very first time. Of course, the winners of this tie played the losers of Larnaca against Legia Warsaw. Larnaca 4-1 up after that first leg, and there has been a substitute at half-time as well. Josh Campbell is on. So I think we know who that is probably for, but we'll wait until we get the confirmation of that. There's been a change for Partizan as well. Demba Sek is off, replaced by Stefan Milic. Now Stefan Milic is a defender, so that is Partizan Belgrade now trying to shore things up at the back, having gone down to 10 men, having lost Djurdjevic in the first half. Like I say, when we get official confirmation of who's gone off for Hibs, I'll let you know, but it's Josh Campbell.
Josh Mulligan. Josh Mulligan's went off, and I think it is obviously the management team have thought, don't want to take any chances with Josh. He's had a yellow card, and his style of play, he's such a combative player that, it was taking a wee risk. Unfortunate for Josh, he'll be gutted with that, but, he'll be happy to see his teammates get them through this European tie.
And a chance for Josh Campbell as well, who's a real goal threat, it should be said, for Hibs. I think he had more shots than any other Hibs player at the weekend against Dundee. He was only brought on just before the hour mark. So he's always liable to get into those positions. And he should have plenty of space, but it's Partizan who start this second half, shooting from left to right. Vukitic whips the ball in. It's a dangerous ball, and I think that was Jack Iredale who's headed it behind, but it's Partizan who start on the front foot, and it's just the start to the second half they would have wanted, full of confidence. A decent ball in, and Iredale had to make that block.
Well, we'll see if it transpires, but Vukitic just taking up a position on the left rather than through the middle in that first half, whether it was just that phase of play or whether it's something that they've looked to change, but stepped in off the left and whipped a brilliant ball in with his right foot. That was a really important clearance from Jack Iredale there.
Now it's Hibs who are defending. Partizan play the corner short. It's whipped in now towards the back post, headed away. If I'd had to guess, I'd think that was Kieran Bowie who was heading it away, but it comes back out to the left hand side. Vukitic twisting, turning, plays it in low. Bashiri heads away, and the ball comes to Martin Boyle, just knocks it back. Levitt trying to play it over the top.
That was on. He had all the space to hit there. He just got under it. You've got to say Hibs have defended their box very well so far. Whenever the balls come in, they've been able to get a block or get ahead, and it's not dropping down and being scrappy. They've cleared their box really well.
One wee concern, I think, for me, that you see it was on there all day. Josh Campbell might not run in behind, but if he's going to play that position that Mulligan was playing, he's got to make sure he's got that discipline as well behind the ball, because how often do you see it? They were on the ropes, I think, but they've come out really strong, Partizan, and they're the team at the moment that are looking on the ascendancy.
And they're in behind again here. Trifunovic crossing, and it's headed away by O'Hora, but it's still Hibs who are camped in their own box. The shot, poor option, but it's still a Partizan ball out on the left hand side Vukitic up against Cadden, twisting, turning, crosses with the right, Bashiri heads away. He has been an absolute rock at the back, and then it's Vukitic with the foul that relieves the pressure on Hibs. But Partizan, well, you just wonder if they've had a little bit of a rocket at half-time, because they've come flying out the traps in the second half, desperate to try and restore some kind of parity.
Yeah, they have. As Tony was saying, they're the team that have territorially have been right up and on Hibs there, and looking dangerous.
The ball goes out for a throw-in on the far side to Partizan Belgrade. Tony, were you surprised that if Josh Mulligan were to come off like he has done, that it's Josh Campbell who's come on perhaps instead of Alassane Mana?
Yeah, do you know what? I've not seen enough of Mana. I was going to ask you that, but I think if he's more defensively minded, then I'm a little bit surprised, because I think Josh Campbell's a fantastic player, but he's an offensive player, and I think that it's important that Hibs keep a discipline to this. Before a ball was kicked, you would absolutely take a 1-0 victory. So
the ball comes in now. Kieran Bowie with the flick on, and Milosevic makes the save. Well, they would take 1-0, but it was so close to 2-0 there. Kieran Bowie doing brilliantly to get onto the end of that cross, just getting in front of the defender, flicking with the left foot. And Milosevic, good reflexes from the Partizan keeper to tip it over the bar.
Kieran Bowie's movement and physicality just makes something. It's an okay ball. It's not, you would say, a brilliant ball that's pinpoint and picked him out, but he just keeps himself away from it. As the ball's coming in, he's got 3-4 yards that he knows he can attack to get onto it, and gets it on target. Just more very good play from the striker.
The corner comes in from McGrath now. It's an outswinger and it's headed away at first, but the ball breaks to Levitt on the edge of the box. It was just a poor second touch as he tried to tee himself up. The cross comes in, the keeper punches away. Rocky Bashiri was lurking there, and Abita blocking off the Partizan striker trying to counter-attack, and the ball comes all the way back to Jordan Smith. But Hibs just with a counter punch there in the last minute or two, showing that they've got that goal threat as well. Boyle gives the ball away though. Partizan coming forward, Boyle then back good defending play, and uses his body well to win the ball back, the Hibs captain.
Really good play from Martin Boyle there. But again, to go back to just having such a good balanced team, is it shows the importance of it there. It's a team that, start the second half, they're under the cosh a little bit. They get themselves at the park, one opportunity, and it just gives the belief back to the players, takes a bit of the pressure off, and it's just landing a punch on the opponent when you've had caught with a few yourself in the early stages of the second half. I'm just looking at the Partizan setup. Obviously the substitute's been made. They've got a defender back on, but they've dropped a man. They've dropped basically Vukitic from that number 10 position and put him out on the left, and they've got this winger here, Trifunovic, who's gone from the left over to the right. And I just think so far it's looking like they're going to really try and keep their width, because the first half it was a wee bit, especially Jurcevic, the left back, was playing on that inside channel. It looks like they've just got a bit of a better balance, even though they've lost a man centrally.
Yeah, at the moment it certainly doesn't look like they're a team that are down to 10. They're playing with confidence that they lacked after conceding that goal, but they've won it back in the Hibs half here. Dragojevic out to the left to Vukitic, cuts in on the right, tries to curl for goal. Jordan Smith behind it all the way, but Milan Vukitic clearly the danger man for Partizan Belgrade, just 22 years of age. He's been really impressive.
I think you're right there, Mikey. I think with them stretching the game with that width, it's making Hibs go more into a back five. The centre backs don't really want to go out there. It's the wing backs that are going deeper, and it's allowing more space in these areas of the pitch here, and they're manipulating the ball well. Partizan, it's been a good change by their coach. It's something that Hibs need to get through, just be good defending and still look to counter on the other side of it.
It's Reganovic inside. Partizan have the ball on the edge of the Hibs box here. Reganovic trying to chip it through for Milosevic, and it's cleared away, and Jordan Abita able to hook it away. Campbell onto Boyle on the left hand side, flicks it brilliantly away from the defender, It looks like he might try and draw the foul. He's charging on at the moment. He's fouled there. No, he's not. Play goes on. Looked like a sore one for Martin Boyle, but the challenge was a good one as Partizan Belgrade take the ball over the halfway line. This time they're a little keener to try and slow it down. Only really Jovan Milosevic and Vukotic up there. Trifinovic on the far side as well. The ball with Vukotic now.
Just want to try and get a wee bit tighter at Vukotic. He's naturally just been in that wide area. He's got a wee bit more space as he's picking the ball up, but you just didn't want to give him too much space.
Trifinovic works it onto his left, drills a low shot but didn't really connect properly. If you're just joining us, it's Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibs 1 after 52 minutes. Partizan Belgrade down to 10, but currently not playing like it. They've fired a few warning shots at the Hibs goal early in this second half, but so far Hibs remain in front.
It's just again going back to that sort of the natural DNA, the players from the Balkans. Once they start to get a feel for it, they get more and more comfortable and confident. You just want to keep him as unsettled as possible and keep him on the periphery of the game, because if he's getting a few more touches of the ball and he's picking up in areas where he's got space,
well, this could be a problem for Hibs, because Martin Boyle's gone down. And this could be a really bad one for Hibs, because he's gone down and there was no one near him, and it looked like he's twisted his knee in the turf, and you can maybe just hear a scream of agony from Martin Boyle. Well, from a dream night, this might be a nightmare for David Gray's side and for Martin Boyle, because it looks really innocuous. He's just twisted his left knee in the turf there, and of course we know Martin Boyle's had his knee injuries before. This would be a disaster for Hibs if they were to lose him, and if this was to be a bad one for Martin Boyle. He's just receiving treatment now from the Hibs medics, but
his stud slipped and he's rocked his knee. I'm hoping it's more just the fact that he's rocked it rather than anything more serious. But often when you that doesn't look good.
His foot just kind of gets caught in the...
No, I think he slips and it'll be his cruciate if it's, because it's like he's hyperflexed his knee joint.
Well, he's still getting treatment and he's getting back to his feet now. Hibs just taking the time to have a little meeting on the halfway line between
He's okay.
players.
He's a thumbs up from the physio, and that's brilliant news for Hibs, because you did fear, the pictures you've seen there, you did fear the worst for him, but he seems to have got away with that there. He definitely was twisted his knee, but I think he's got away with one there.
I'm astonished if he's okay there, because it looked like he was in real agony, Martin Boyle, but just moments later he looks pretty nonplussed by it. Maybe I was just overreacting.
No, but because obviously the issues he's had, whenever something like that's happened, and he'll obviously have felt something in his knee, a bit of discomfort, he'll naturally be unsettled himself and a wee bit anxious because of the troubles that he's had.
Well, I remember doing the exact same thing, Mikey, on a game that we did together at Rugby Park when Benny Beningame went down holding his knee. He ended up playing an hour that day, and that happened at about the 5-minute mark. So hopefully the same for Martin Boyle. As Partizan have the ball now on the near touchline, it's Trifinovic who looks really keen to run at Jordan Abita. But this time he just goes back and lays it off to Reganovic. Thinks about getting the cross in. Just knocks it back to Trifinovic, who looks a little tired after his early exertions in the second half. The ball worked to Jovan Milosevic. Just knocked back to the left back. Jurcevic, who drives for goal. It bounces awkwardly. Jordan Smith can only parry away. The ball's still alive here. The danger very much still on. Vukotic thinks about the cross in. He's worked it onto his right and then slips it to the left. It's crossed low. Jordan Smith punches away. Could drop to Milosevic. Hooked back in. The ball over the head of Trifinovic, and it will go out for a goal kick. Partizan Belgrade putting Hibs under a bit more pressure now.
I think Hibs, they've got to get to it. I think it's Josh Campbell. He's got to get to the ball quicker. They're sitting a bit deep inside their box. This shot from distance you see here, they've got to, is it maybe Iredale or Levitt? They've got to get to the ball quicker there and stop the shot.
It was Jurcevic who had that shot, just bounced awkwardly in front of the keeper. Horrible one for the keeper to deal with, and it just kind of bounced off his chest and went away. And it remains Partizan 0, Hibs 1, and there's been another yellow card for Partizan. I think that might be Jamie McGrath perhaps, or Kieran Bowie down holding his face, and it's Simic, the 18-year-old centre-half who goes into the book, receives a high five from his teammate for it, and he's just left one on Kieran Bowie there near the halfway line. Bowie's still down holding his face.
Just watching that last corner that Hibs had, I think we've seen it, Martin Boyle was in, his movement was brilliant, and I don't think we've given him the credit he deserved for his goal, for his movement, because as you know, Mikey, all good strikers, I remember particularly Doddsy was very good at it, when there's a build up of the play, they just take that position up at the back post that he took there and to score his goal, and he took it up just a minute ago there when they had a corner. If the ball got to him, he was free, so credit to him for that movement and also for his finish.
Sorry, it was actually Stefan Milic who went into the book there, not Nikola Simic. As Hibs try and come forward now, Bowie trying to flick the ball on to Boyle, who is thankfully back to his feet. Reports of his injury greatly exaggerated by myself earlier. As the ball comes out to Jordan Abita on the near side, Bowie and Josh Campbell. It was Campbell who really wanted it, he was in plenty of room, but Abita just picking Martin Boyle instead. Iredale up from the back, just knocks it into Levitt. And
this is not bad again though, it's one of those, just spend a bit of time on the ball.
Ball comes in now, Bowie challenging the keeper, and I think it might end up being a free kick to Partizan, yes. Kieran Bowie just challenging the goalkeeper from that cross from Jordan Abita. The decision goes the way of Mirko Milosevic. Again, it's Partizan trying to build from the back. Currently not playing like a team with 10 men, but they are still that goal behind as we approach the hour mark. It's Partizan who have it across the halfway line. An update from Vienna. The score remains Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 1. Jim Goodwin's side still trailing, but as we were talking about at half-time, I think if they're just one goal behind, taking that back to Tannadice might not be the worst result in the world. Now this could be a chance for Partizan. They're down the left-hand side. Jurcevic crosses in. Jordan Smith well behind it. He's dealt with that well. He's dealt with crosses well generally tonight. And of course he was another who had a challenge on his hands for the starting spot. Raphael Salinger, the Austrian goalkeeper, brought in the summer, given the number 1 shirt. But it's Jordan Smith's position at the moment. Hibs try and play the ball over the halfway line.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
The ball
again, just the ball into the centre midfielder. He can play it right round the corner into the striker's feet, and it's game on. You're then up in the attacking third with controlled possession and looking dangerous.
They're on the edge of the box now. Iredale chips it through. McGrath trying to work it back into the middle for Kieran Bowie, who jumped up and down in frustration.
Honestly, I love that so much, and it's not rocket science. It's not as if it's a beautiful bit of skill, but it's just so important, and so often it doesn't happen, which is why I suppose I'm over-egging it here today, but it just is such good play.
It's a trust, there's a trust, you can see it between Levitt. As you say, it's a blind pass, but he knows that ball going into that area, Bowie's going to hold it up, he does link it, he get it wide and he get it in the box.
Corner comes to the back post, it's headed away this time, could drop for Levitt, hits it on the volley, and it goes out for a throw-in on the near side. There's so many redemption stories in this entire Hibs team, from the manager on the touchline to Rocky Bashiri, Martin Boyle and Kieran Bowie coming back from bad injuries. And so far they are carrying on this season the way they finished the last, only beaten twice in the league after the 7th of December. It was really a remarkable campaign as Trifunovic skips away from Levitt, who slips in the middle of the park. He then pings it out to Vukotic on the left. It's a lovely touch from Vukotic. He goes towards the byline and squares up Cadden, tries the cross, it could drop for Milosevic. The header straight at Jordan Smith, an easy one for the goalkeeper to hold, and really the first time we've seen Jovan Milosevic get a shot away, or get an effort away I should say, at the Hibs goalkeeper. He's highly thought of, the 20-year-old, like I said, on loan from Stuttgart, but at the moment it's Hibs who are impressing. They win a free kick as they were threatening the counter-attack.
That's good play from Hibs under a wee bit of pressure. They're not just smashing the ball at the park, they're still looking to play a few passes and work it through the team. I mean, there was never As that ball came in, you could see that Milosevic was going to be clear, but he was never going to get a free header. There's still, that physical presence of the defenders.
No, couldn't generate that power, but you still seeing again now how much a threat, in particular Vukitic, can be. And you're right, I'm drifting off into these wide areas. They need to try and prevent the supply of getting out to him.
It's Partizan who have the ball inside their own half, but they've lost it now. Levitt just turns and plays it inside to Iredale in the centre circle. Out wide for Abita. Doesn't have many options at the moment, but I think it was Josh Campbell running across to try and help him out. Abita wanted to go himself, and unfortunately he's just fouled Milan Raganovic there. 63 minutes gone. Partizan Stadium. Mikey, I believe you've got an interesting fact to give us about the Partizan Stadium.
Well, apart from the man sitting next to us, the former Dundee manager.
Well, let you tell us in a second. As Jovan Milosevic is in behind, Jordan Smith came for the ball. Milosevic got there first. He tried the cut back. It was well blocked by the Hibs midfield before Rocky Bashiri hammered the ball away. But Partizan coming back at them now. The ball on the left-hand side. Vukitic again desperate to get it on that right foot. He whips it across the front of the box. Trifunovic on the left. He gets that all wrong. I don't know. I think he is right-footed, because that didn't look like a shot with his stronger foot.
No, he is right-footed. Trifunovic, you could see when he was playing over on the left-hand side, he was primarily wanting to cut in on that right. But, the Partizan Stadium, apart from Dundee and United, these are two of the closest stadiums with city rivals. Red Stars Stadium is a short distance away from the Partizan Stadium.
There we go. Every day's a school day, Mikey. Thank you for that one. Of course, the eternal derby, as it's known.
A font of knowledge.
That's Hibs coming forward here. Martin Boyle wants it on his right foot. He almost slipped the ball through to Chris Cadden, who was arriving on the right-hand side, but it was Vukitic back. Just got a toe to it, and it's out for a corner. Another opportunity for Hibs on the counter. A second goal in this game would be absolutely enormous for David Gray's side. They've got another chance from the corner. See, they're taking their time as they arrive in the box as well. Liam Craig out on the touchline, issuing instructions. It's Jamie McGrath to take. It won't be the in-swinger of Abita, it'll be the out-swinger of McGrath. McGrath, who of course scored that free kick against Midtjylland in the Europa League qualifying. It wasn't to be for Hibs there. As the in-swinger comes in, it's bouncing around, and it's Milic who eventually cleared. He rather hesitated over that, and Martin Boyle was there.
Again, you look at that really intelligent movement with Martin Boyle. Starts in the goalkeeper, works towards the back post, and just a knockdown there. He's in a position to score like he did.
It didn't come off this time, as Milosevic booms the ball down the pitch, and this is a chance now. Jack Iredale had to make the challenge. He didn't dive in, really composed defending, and he puts it out for a throw. He wants a free kick as well.
It's great defending from Jack Iredale, but the game's just a little bit loose for Hibs.
It was Ognin Ugrasic who was running with him. Now Jack Iredale has to be careful, because that was how Hibs conceded against Dundee on Sunday. Iredale trying to pass the ball out, ended up slipping just like that, and it was Ashley Hay who stole in and knocked it back to Finn Robertson to score. 2-1 scoreline, perhaps flattering Dundee a little. Hibs were dominant for most of that game. Just
again, for me, they're a wee bit of an alarm bell for Hibs. That's a midfield runner. He's run off both Levitt and Josh Campbell there right onto the back line, and yes, brilliant defending by Iredale, but
hang on a second here. We've got a VAR check now. From what the replay showed us, I think this might be for a Hibs penalty. Jordan Abita crossed the ball in. There was a man in yellow down on the floor, and it is for a Hibs penalty. Big decision now.
A wee pet hate. It's the ground, Andrew. Football's outdoors, the floor is indoors.
I'll take that on board, Mikey, thank you. So this is the replay of that, and it looks like, is it Kieran Bowie again who's just wrestled to the ground?
I've got to be honest, I'm not sure it is a penalty. I think Kieran Bowie I think he sort of instigates the challenge, but it could easily be given here.
He's got
Chris Kavanagh is the VAR who has called Philip Farrugia across the screen. I think this is going to.
I think he'll give it as well. Yep. I think he's trying to block him, and then Kieran Bowie. Yep.
Penalty Hibs.
But you know, again, this goes back to Kieran Bowie. He's a very intelligent footballer as well. An absolute nuisance, and you can tell he's got in their head. He's running in there, they're trying to block him off from making the run, and he sort of instigates a bit more and falls and makes it look messy, and he's got a penalty kick for his side here.
It's been a huge performance from Kieran Bowie. It's a coming of age season. This is a coming of age night. He has announced himself on the main stage here, and he's won Hibs a penalty, and it is Martin Boyle who has the ball under his arm right now. He will take on Milosevic in the Partizan goal, and the Partizan defender still not happy with this decision. There's barely any players around the box. Everyone's just waiting for this to be taken, and it seems to be taking an age. I don't know if that will be helping or hindering Martin Boyle, who, well, we thought he'd gone off with an ACL injury just about 15 minutes ago. It's been a remarkable recovery.
Jamie McGrath was standing there as well, and I did wonder whether he was saying he's obviously taken penalty kicks over the years.
But it will be Boyle to strike. It would be a second for him, a second for Hibs on the night. Can Martin Boyle double the Hibees' advantage in Belgrade? It's been a long wait for this spot kick. He's running up now. He scores! Martin Boyle makes it 2-0 to Hibs. Well, he's not cupping his ears this time. He's running across the racetrack, and he's right across to those away fans who are punching the air in delight. They are 2-0 up on Partizan Belgrade. It's been an enormous night for Hibs. And 69 minutes gone, they have a 2-goal advantage over the former Eastern European giants. I don't think some Hibs fans can believe it. An unbelievable night for them, and an unbelievable night for Martin Boyle. What a roller coaster it's been for him. He lashes that penalty right down the middle. A huge goal for Hibs in this tie.
What a result this will be. I mean, seriously, taking aside all the caveats in terms of it's a young team, they're down to 10 men and they've scored a penalty kick, the overall performance justifies this scoreline at the moment. They've been absolutely outstanding, Hibs, and you look at it and you think to yourself, why not more? I'm being serious, because these moments that have gone their way, just capitalise on them and ride that wave. And I still get the feeling that Partizan will buckle even more.
There could be a chance here if Martin Boyle's able to get onto that ball. It could set up for Kieran Bowie, who's racing onto it, but the keeper came out and got there. Hibs had a 4-on-3 there very briefly, and we saw the way that Partizan Belgrade reacted to that goal in the first half. The heads dropped and it looked like Hibs might get a second. They've got it now. How will Partizan Belgrade react? They're up the other end of the pitch, they're into the Hibs box. It could drop for Trifunovic. Well, it's taken off his toes by the captain, Vanya.
You look at young Kieran Bowie there, he's ran 80 yards from that attack, would have got beyond Martin Boyle to get back and defend for his team. And I've got to say, 71 minutes into a European tie, by a long stretch, he's the most influential player in the pitch. He's won his team a penalty, he's got an opponent sent off. But for me, the biggest thing, you look at the work rate he's doing there for his teammates, and it's a brilliant example.
Of course, he spent so long out with injury last season, only scored 6 goals, but his opportunities were limited by that hamstring injury. Now he's back and he's making a name for himself. It's a Partizan corner right to the back post. It's headed down. Jordan Smith nowhere near it, still bouncing around. This could be a chance for Partizan. It's nodded over. There's a Partizan player down in the box. I think it's Milic holding his face.
He's fine. Again though, Hibs defend in their box really well. Whenever you think, there's a dangerous moment, invariably it's a Hibs defender or a Hibs player that has been there getting their head on it. I'm not sure who the referee's just booked there.
I think it might be a Partizan player for protesting what they felt was a penalty. It looked really just like an aerial duel, maybe a clash of heads. That's why Milic is down at the moment, but a little harem-scarum at the back for Hibs there. Like I say, they've got this 2-0 lead now, 72 minutes gone. It was Milan Reganovic who has been booked. That's the young teenage right back for Partizan Belgrade. We'll have another opportunity to see it here. Jordan
O'Hara there makes a fantastic header, defensive header in the middle of the goal. If he doesn't win that, they're losing a goal, and it's really good attacking the ball.
Really important, isn't it? And Andrew, you're absolutely spot on. It's just two players going and challenging for the ball. It's not a penalty kick, it's a corner. Iredale goes up for it, along with Chris Cadden as well, and the ball drops in between them all. I'm not sure who the Partizan player was that went down, but the referee's got it spot on. It's a corner kick, and yeah, it's a bit of a sore one, but it's not a penalty.
Jack Iredale's eyes always on the ball there, and like you say, Mikey, I think he got a fair chunk of Chris Cadden's head as well as Partizan Belgrade ready. Another change. It's going to be Bojan Kostic coming on as Partizan work the short corner. Vukatic crossing to the edge of the area to Jurcevic. It's on the back foot. It's not the best corner from Partizan Belgrade at all. It's not quietened the crowd any though. 27,000 strong home crowd doing well as Vukatic dances away from Martin Boyle. It's brilliant play from the youngsters. Swivels back onto the right. Big chance for Jurcevic to cross. He picks out a man in the middle who can't turn. His back's to goal and his touch is poor, and Obita clears. And now Martin Boyle could be away if he gets there first. It's really important defending at the back there from Milic, who's only just back onto the pitch after he was bloodied in that earlier challenge. And it looks like there's going to be two Hibs changes as well. Looks like Eliu's one of them, and perhaps Junior Hoylett. But as for Partizan Belgrade, it's Ognjen Ugrisic who's off, and Bogdan Kostic, who's a more attacking player. He has come on, so Partizan really having to throw everything at this now. And a double Hib change.
Just going to say, Vukatic, he's a very good player. Good balance, two good feet, and he can sense where the openings and the danger is. Even down to 10 men, he still looks like he's capable of opening up the defence. But thankfully, from Hibs' perspective, whenever the ball's gone in there, they've defended it well. And if it has landed at a Partizan player, they've looked pretty wasteful whenever they've been able to get it under control.
Well, the double change there for Hibs is Alassane Amana. He's replaced Dylan Levitt, and it's been Martin Boyle. He won't quite have his hat-trick, but I'm sure he'll be pleased with his night's work. He is replaced by Junior Hoylett. It's the double change for Hibs there. They've now made 3 changes. And the ball dropping to Hoylett now, trying to flick it back inside for Josh Campbell. Bowie in front of him, Obita to the left. He's kept it in the middle somehow. Tried to squeeze the ball to Obita, who wins the throw-in, I think. I don't think that's a free kick that's been given. It was physical play from Jordan Obita there, getting his body in front of the ball. In front of Nemanja Trifunovic. Maybe a little lucky that's not been given as a free kick. But Hibs take the throw-in quickly. It comes back to Mana, the Gambian midfielder, just on. Here's Hoylett. Bowie slipping it through to Obita in the box, tries to pull it back, and the goalkeeper turns it behind for another corner. There's a Partizan player down in the middle holding his face. You again heard his yell perhaps, but it will be a Hibernian corner. And it does look like Partizan Belgrade, this young side, like I say, an average age of only 22, perhaps just a little inexperienced when it comes to the wily games that perhaps Hibs are employing at times.
Once again, in that final third, it's brilliant link-up play. You know, Hoylett, Bowie, the run down the side by Obita, and really good play by Hibs.
Jamie McGrath whips the ball in, it's headed away. We've got another goal to tell you about in Austria. Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 2. Zach Sapsford. Dundee United clawing themselves back level for the second time in that game.
Brilliant.
What a night this could be for Scottish football in Europe.
Absolutely brilliant. It really is.
As Chris Cadden launches it towards Bowie. Didn't get the flick on that time. You were backing him though. As Partizan tried to come forward on the left-hand side. It's cut out by Cadden again. He comes forward. He's got options ahead of him in Josh Campbell, who looks like he's been given a little more licence to get forward. Hibs are the ones knocking it around now. 77 minutes gone. Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibernian 2. 2 goals from their talisman Martin Boyle, but it's been the performance of Kieran Bowie that stood out, and there could be a chance here as Hoylett and McGrath work the ball nicely. Hoylett, just maybe a lack of urgency, he was kind of taking the ball towards the corner, and maybe that's just an indication of what Hibs are going to do in the remaining 15 or so minutes of this game.
Which is exactly, control the game. They're desperate. Just, you see it as a free kick. The jersey Hoylett's getting pulled there. The home crowd are going to get more and more frustrated. The players are going to get frustrated. Just feed off it. I've got to say, yes, the big moments have gone for Hibs, but I mentioned it before, the performance deserves this scoreline just now, and just keep at it.
Well, they've got the chance now. McGrath crossing in. Not the best header away from Partizan. Rocky Bashiri still in there, he flicks it back, it could drop to Bowie. It was on the left foot and it just wouldn't sit for him, but Iredale's won it in the box. Can he get the ball across? I thought he'd won a corner there, but it's just a goal kick. Partizan, they've got a mountain to climb now. Hibs have made it so tough for them this evening. It's been a superb performance from David Gray's side, and the games that they've had so far this season, they've impressed, and they've impressed again tonight, Tony.
Very good. I think when they came out the blocks in the second half, Partizan, they had to see that off, and they did that. They didn't panic, they kept in their shape, they seen it through, and then they got a foothold of the game again, and they could go on and score another goal here. I can see that happening, but if not, at the start of the night, if you come away with 2-0 away win, you're absolutely delighted with it, and as Mikey says, they merit that with the performance.
They just need to keep their concentration here as Alassane Mane blocks, and it will be just a throw into Partizan Belgrade on the right hand side, deep in the Hibs half. Trifunovic, he's been quite tricky so far this evening. He tries to cross in, Jordan Abita blocks. It's a Partizan Belgrade corner. A goal now would make for a very nervy ending.
Yeah, it's obviously tiring. It's a big park, it's warm. Thankfully, it's not been the sort of game that it could be in terms of where you've just got backs against the wall and you've never had a kick of the ball. They've been well and truly in it, but they're still going to be tired bodies, which means concentration becomes more difficult, but it's so important.
The corner comes in towards the back post. It's headed into the air and out of the Hibs box. Could come back at them now, though. But Hoylett gets a foot in. Jurcevic putting him under pressure, and he just held on to that ball really well, and it's a really good ball. Almost sat up for Josh Campbell, whose touch threatened to take him in behind the Partizan Belgrade defence. Instead, it's the hosts who get back. But Hibs just threatening that third goal on the counter-attack. 3-0 would be some scoreline. I don't think David Gray could have even quite dreamt that one. It's 2-0 at the moment. One of Hibs' finest performances on a European night. They have really, really turned up tonight. Kieran Bowie leading from the front. Martin Boyle getting the 2 goals. But Bowie really announcing himself. He will certainly be in Steve Clarke's thoughts come September. He could well be forcing his way into the starting 11 as well. Partizan have the ball. Currently Bowie putting on a bit more pressure. 80 minutes gone. Bowie sliding in to try and win the ball back. He looks tired, but he's still running about, Kieran Bowie.
Yeah, inevitably there's going to be a lot of tired bodies out there, but he's looking as fit as a fiddle, I've got to say. He really is. Quick, alert. But 10 minutes or so to go. Just his concentration now for Hibs is key.
There's a lapse of concentration there as Alassane Mane concedes the free kick in the Hibs half. Well, there will be tired bodies. David Gray hasn't changed his starting 11 very much in his opening 4 games, and it will be hard for the likes of Grant Hanley and Ellie Ewan and Thibaut Klidja, the record signing made earlier in the summer, to force their way into this 11. Such is the strength of the performance from the current crop of starters. As the free kick comes to naught, and Jordan Smith will take plenty of time over this one. Hibs on course for their first away win in Europe since 2021, when they beat Santa Coloma 2-1, the Andorran side. It was Josh Campbell who really impressed that night. He was the player of the match. He was just making his way into the Hibs squad. Goals from Jamie Murphy and Daniel Mackay. Feels like a very, very long time ago for Hibs fans, that one. Jack Ross was still the manager as Partizan Belgrade work it up the right. The cross comes in, it's headed towards goal, and Jordan Smith with a slightly dramatic jump to watch the ball sail past his post. Still Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibs 2, 82 minutes gone. There's going to be another change for Hibs. And although Martin Boyle has scored both goals, I think it might well be the player of the match coming off. Kieran Bowie is replaced by Ellie Ewan. Would you agree with that, Tony?
Yeah, I think his contribution to the team, to the performance, has been massive, and you can see that the reception he's getting from his manager and from the backroom staff there. So he's been great, and I think the change that Hibs have made here as well in midfield, bringing Manny on, they've went more of a 2 and a 1, just to give that wee bit more protection. To see out the game really, and as you say, now with that 2 up top with Ellie Ewan going on and Josh Campbell making runs just off them, they still have that counter-attacking threat, but there's a wee bit more security with the 2 midfielders sitting in front of the back 3.
It's not the best start from Ellie Ewan, who plays his first pass straight into touch. Josh Campbell sliding to try and get there as Partizan ready. Another couple of changes. Andrej Kostic is one of them. Partizan, who have the ball currently. It's launched forward up the left-hand side, in behind Chris Cadden, who's running for the ball. Shout for handball, nothing given. He's up against Vukitic. Plays in Jurcevic. He's come off a Hibs defender, and it will be a corner, and Partizan starting to build a bit more pressure. Just one goal now would really put Hibs under an enormous amount of pressure. Could they hold on to a single goal lead for the final couple of minutes here in Belgrade? They're currently 2-0 up, remember. The corner comes in, Jordan Smith punches away. It's not the most commanding of clearances, but Ellie Ewan battling for the ball, he loses it, and it comes back in. Abita, the clearance is poor, came off his standing leg, but Jordan Smith able to run out and collect the ball, rescue his wing back, as that one could have gone anywhere.
They've just got to manage the game now, Hibs, for this last 6 minutes and whatever's added on, and just make sure they keep it at nothing.
Of course, they had that bad habit in the first half of last season of conceding late goals, I should say. They got rid of that, and that was part of what inspired that huge turnaround in form, which David Gray has rightly been commended for. He changed his system, but believed in the same players. And has it paid dividends. And it looks like that same crop of players really are going to do the business for him. He's only made, I think it's 5 or 6 changes or signings this summer. That's not been the way of it at Easter Road for the last couple of years. They were up there challenging Chelsea in terms of turnover. And there's another couple of changes now for Partizan Belgrade. Aldo Kalulu is one of the players coming on, replacing Nemanja Trivunovic. The young captain, Dragojevic, is off. He is replaced by Yanis Karabelyov. I think Andrej Kostic came on as well, so a couple more attackers on. Partizan really going for Brokic. Jovan Milosevic, who's come off. Partizan 2-0 down in front of their home fans, the baying crowd who have been chanting, singing all night, but to no prevail so far. And it's Jurcevic, the left back, who brings the ball forward. Vukitic in a more central role. Raganovic out to Aldo Kalulu, up against Abita, who gets to the byline and wins the corner. A different prospect for Jordan Abita to defend against there, but he did well, matched him.
Yeah, he did, he defended it well. You can see Kalulu's wee bit of pace, what hit the byline. Jordan Abita not over-committing and eventually getting the block and stopping the cross coming in.
It's been a long time since Partizan Belgrade beat Scottish opposition back in 1989. They beat Celtic, and it looks like that run's going to go on. It was in a round of 16 European Cup clash. Of course, lost that second leg at Celtic 5-4, one of the most famous and dramatic nights at Celtic Park. And of course, Partizan going through on away goals. Away goals no longer a thing in European football now. It's Hibs who have scored the 2 away goals tonight. Looks like they might win the corner, but Ellie Ewan with the foul. Bit of a needless one.
That's an instance there where I think it's on for Ellie Ewan's done great running in the corner to retain possession. I think Chris Cadden, he's just got to keep the ball there. You know, they throw it into an area and give away a free kick, and now they're having to defend another attack. So it's important that they manage this last part of the game well in terms of keeping possession.
You're taught, you know, obviously Kenny was asking before about getting a feel for the game. The feel for the game at this moment should be, it's not as commanding as it was leading into half time. You're 2-0 up, it's still a little bit loose. When you get an opportunity like Tony's talking about there, that's when just calm it down, kill the game. 2-0 is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
It's Partizan coming forward again now. Knocked inside. The Hibs defence just has to concentrate for the final few moments. 88 minutes gone. Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibernian 2. And over in Austria it remains Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 2. So it would be a largely successful night for Scottish clubs in Europe. United potentially taking a draw back to Tannadice, and Hibs taking a 2-0 lead to Easter Road. Although Junior Hoylett's just conceded a free kick near the halfway line.
That's brilliant from Dundee United, especially if they're able to finish off with a draw, going behind twice to be able to get themselves back level.
Junior Hoylett's gone into the book for that challenge. Maybe a little harsh on the Canadian. He's only really just come on. Perhaps more of a cynical one. 89 minutes on the clock now. The ball launched directly forward. There's runners in behind. Jordan Smith's come for it and headed the ball. It was really brave goalkeeping.
Pretty unconventional, but very well done.
And now this could be a chance up the other end. Ellie Ewan, I think, has just mistimed his run. The flag goes up.
But the pass as well. I mean, I don't know who it is at the end. Is it Josh Campbell in the end that plays it?
I think so.
I don't know how he didn't have the ball under control, and then they've just lost that element of control at this stage of the game. And yeah, I mean, the break was there, 100%, but then the poor touch, don't try and force it then. You know, do not go and force anything.
Partizan coming forward again. Hibs camped on the edge of their own box. It's Aldo Kalulu up against Abita. Takes a couple of touches and just chips the ball in, and it's well cleared away by Hibs. And there's the flick on, and Hibs might have the counter-attack if Ewan can take a decent touch. It's poor though. Partizan are able to get a few bodies back, but I think Josh Campbell and Ellie Ewan just taking their time, and Ewan is going to run to the corner. This time it's a better touch, and he's kept the ball, and he's right over by the corner flag. This is exactly what Hibs need to do. I think it's gone out for a throw though, but they're down the right end of the field. 90 minutes played, 4 minutes of additional time to come. I'm just waiting to see. There's been a pause in play here. I don't know what's happened. The referee is running across to tell somebody off. I think it's Jordan Smith. It's perhaps maybe wanting some treatment. There's another look at that brave header, and it really was brave.
Very much so.
In the kind of Manuel Neuer mould that
came out the cannon there, I think.
It's a Partizan throw deep in their own half, the area of the pitch that Hibs want them in. They try to work the ball up the right-hand side, but Chris Cadden makes the block. I suppose the only kind of bad news that Hibs have had tonight, no Nicky Cadden on the bench, though. Hope that injury isn't a bad one. As Andre Kostic tries from distance. It's a desperate effort, and Rocky Bashiri's easily able to block as Junior Hoylett picks up, tries to play the ball away, but he's given it away instead, and it's Reganovic who twists and turns and keeps the ball alive. Iredale with a foot in. Partizan wanted the free kick, it's not given. Campbell knocks it back to Mana. It's a slack pass up to Hoylett. And Partizan desperate now to try and get a goal that will keep them in this tie. But it's Alassane Mana who gets back there, and it's nice footwork as well.
Can you see the difference when Bowie's off the game? when the ball's just coming back. You know, and it's not a slight on the guys that are on now because it's just not their style of game, but you see the importance of that where, you know, the ball's in the midfield, it's played forward, up, the defence are getting a step in and they're winning the ball, or it's a loose touch and all of a sudden, and it speeds the game up. You know, the urgency is there from Partizan, but it speeds up their whole attack, the whole game. It makes it infinitely more difficult for Hibs.
About a minute and a half remaining here. It's knocked out of play. Players on both sides looking tired in this sapping Serbian heat. But Hibs with that 2-goal lead, it looks like they're going to take that to Easter Road. A huge result for them as Rocky Bashiri wins the ball for the referees, given a free kick and a late chance for Partizan to try and half the deficit here.
That didn't look like a free kick to me.
No, I didn't think so. Last wee bit in the 45 second defend this free kick.
Hugely important that Hibs keep this clean sheet if they want to go through to the Conference League playoff. It's played down the left hand side into the box. Vukotic with the shot. It's headed away. Drops to a Partizan player on the edge of the box. Chip to the back post again. And it's well defended. I think that's Junior Hoylett back there. And Hibs just want to get this clear. Cadden launches it forward. 15 seconds left. Ellie Ewan sniffing the chance of a goal maybe. But Partizan sweep up and try and get it up the pitch for one last desperate attempt. Just a few seconds remain before Philip Farrugia blows his whistle. That pass isn't a good one from Partizan. And there is the full-time whistle. It's a historic Hibernian win in Belgrade. They have at times completely outclassed this Partizan side. Kieran Bowie spearheading the Hibernian attack. Martin Boyle with the goals in the first and second half as Partizan went down to 10 men and Hibs made that extra man count. It wasn't quite as easy as they wanted in the second half, but they stood tall. Rocky Bashiri impressing again. David Gray asked for his side to make history. They've done it. The club now 150 years old this week, and this has been one of their best ever nights in Europe. Martin Boyle written all over it, as he usually is. It finishes in the Partizan Stadium. Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibernian 2.
Hibernian in the UEFA Conference League qualifiers.
Live on Sports Sound.
From BBC Radio Scotland.
I booked a holiday.
Where are you off to then?
On BBC iPlayer.
This is what you've been grafting for.
Ain't a honeymoon, I can tell you that for free.
Going on a trip?
Go tomorrow. Well,
You're in luck.
Take these killer travel companions.
and you live like a king. Right decision.
Line of Duty, this city is ours. The gold and loads more.
I could get used to this.
And that is something that does not happen every day.
Journeys fly by with crime drama on BBC iPlayer.
You're listening to Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland. What a terrific week it has been for Scottish clubs in Europe. Rangers kicking us off with a great home victory on Tuesday night. What a result we've just brought you for Hibs away to Partizan Belgrade. 2-0 victors. David Gray's side. Will bring you reaction from him. I was just watching some of the game in Vienna. Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 2. They're getting to 6 minutes of stoppage time there. Rapid had the ball in the net, but it was ruled out 2 minutes into stoppage time, so it could be a great week. Let's hope that United can hang on. Our reporter Jane Lewis is there. We'll hear from her shortly, and of course we'll bring you post-match reaction from the United manager Jim Goodwin. Michael Stewart, Tony Docherty alongside me in the studio. Michael, that was just a really complete, solid performance from Hibs.
Absolutely. All-round away performance from Hibs in Europe. Just had a bit of everything. Defensively sound, solid. Whenever the ball came into the box, they never really looked like they were in danger. I thought, as a defensive unit, they were really good. Midfield was, on the whole, working their backsides off. and building the game fairly well. And and up front they're looking dangerous. I just think that David Gray will come away from that so happy with where his team are, and recognising that the next leg they've got a great opportunity of getting themselves through to the Conference League playoff game, which looks like at the moment as if it will be against Legia Warsaw. I think it was 4-1 that it finished against Larnaca.
Yeah, so they play the losers of that tie. So 4-1. Yep.
I just think hugely important. Hibs are and I think I said this before the game, that they're probably the strongest team we've had in the qualifiers for the Europa or the Conference League. Obviously Rangers have gone into the Champions League qualifiers invariably, but them aside, I think Hibs are probably the strongest team we've had in the actual qualifiers, and that benefits Scotland massively. If we could get another team to qualify for the group stages, it really would help the coefficient. And this week has been absolutely brilliant. If Dundee United are able to hang on, then
just keep an eye on that right now, Michael. There was 6 minutes of stoppage time. They've gone into stoppage time now. 96 and a half minutes played there. It's 2-2. I say they had a goal chopped off about 2 minutes into stoppage time, Rapid Vienna, but United holding on really well there. Our reporter Jane Lewis is there. We'll bring you that full-time whistle score. We'll hear from Jim Goodwin. Well, actually, what we could do is there's commentary on the television, so maybe try and fade that for you just in the closing stages. It's an electric atmosphere out there, as indeed it was in Belgrade. There's even still the play on. Let's just tune into our commentary team on BBC Scotland.
Royale. Is this the last chance for Rapid Vienna? No corner kick. Great work again from Vichko Chevet. What a performance this has been from Dundee United.
We said it, didn't we? They've grown as the game's gone on. They've looked more comfortable, I think, being in this arena. And you're right, what a result.
It's one magnificent result for Dundee United. A draw in Vienna. And a big opportunity at Tannadice in the second leg. Zach Sapford's goal has given them the 2-2 draw. Rapid Vienna looks stunned by what's happened here. And those Dundee United fans will be feeling no pain in the course of the late evening in the Austrian capital.
Absolutely terrific from Jim Goodwin's side. We just tapped into our television coverage here just to bring you the closing stages here. They were under a lot of pressure tonight, but what a fantastic result from Jim Goodwin's team. As I said, Tony, we'll hear from him later in the programme. You called it earlier on, you fancied that our two teams tonight could get really good results.
Yeah, it's a brilliant night for Scottish football. That two fantastic away results. It sets up next week that hopefully they can finish the job off. But certainly the game I watched, the Hibs performance here, it was such a mature performance for a Scottish team going away from home against a difficult, an opponent with real pedigree. But I feel, they've done a job on them. They've done exactly what they had to do. I thought it was really disciplined, as I say, mature. And they did make Partizan look like the inexperienced team that they could have, they could have been exposed to that. And Hibs did expose them to that, because I think the game plan worked. Exactly everything that Davy and Liam, no doubt, wanted to happened. But I think the real plaudits go to, I say, a real mature performance. But I think the strongest performance came for the 22-year-old in the team, and Kieran Bowie, and we've been saying that all night about the level of performance. Brilliant team performance, really, really strong, and it puts them in a fantastic position now to take on that next stage.
Michael, was the set-up away from home in Europe tonight much different than we see week in, week out from the side domestically?
For Hibs?
Yeah.
No, really.
He's got a system and he sticks to it.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
he kind of stumbled across that system last season, didn't he? In a strange way.
Well, he had to change something.
Yeah.
Tony was talking about before, and they were shipping goals for fun, and he changed to a back three. They put in a wonderful performance. Well, I say wonderful performance. It wasn't as if they were playing brilliant football when that first game against Aberdeen, but what they did was they showed guts and determination that had been sorely lacking before. You just see the pictures of the Dundee United fans celebrating in Vienna. But now, over time it's obviously evolved into a system that they look comfortable in. They've obviously recruited into that system as well. And the team as a whole, is it different from domestic games? Not really, but you're going to get domestic games where you have more possession, or you're playing a lot more of the game in the attacking third. This was a game that had a bit of everything. They had to defend, they had to attack, they weren't camped in on the edge of their box the whole game. I just think now when you look at Hibs, they've got a good balance to the team. And I remember the back end of last season talking about Tony's Dundee team when they were playing like 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. There was a nice balance to the team. They had good pace at the top end of the park. They had strength and stability and a good bit of quality in the middle of the park. You had Simon Murray at the top that scored goals. And I'm thinking, especially the game against United in the derby. And you looked at the team and go, that's good balance to the team. Obviously, it's a completely different system that Hibs are playing, but they've got good balance in the team. And when you've got that, it doesn't have to be too much of one thing or another, because all aspects of the team are working well. So when they're needing to defend, that's fine. When they need to get up the park, not a problem. And I thought that was the performance from Hibs there, that it was a bit of everything, and very, very they showed. And obviously, it's a side that have not played loads of European football. There'll be guys in there that have played, a good number of games in Europe, but as a whole, the team just showed a lot of composure and experience.
I felt they were really good tonight. And again, I just want to highlight Rocky Bashiri, Tony, because we spoke with him before the game kicked off tonight. Just the difference with him playing a back three. Some players, I guess, are just suited to it. Is it the security of the three in the middle? Is it not such a reliance on him to come out with the ball? What is it that works for him in a three?
I think the strongest part of his game is defending his box. And when you're in that central position and you're not getting dragged down into wide areas, that allows you to be in that position to do what you're best at. So, but I think huge credit tonight. I thought O'Hara, and Iredale also had strong performances. A couple of defence saving tackles, a particularly good header from O'Hara as well. And I thought they defended well as a team. Bashiri does look like the organiser. As I said earlier, any time there was an opportunity with the ball going back from Partizan, they squeezed the game up. They got their lines right with the two midfielders in front of them. So I think it was a really strong team performance. But to answer your question, Bashiri playing in an area of the pitch where he's best is no doubt get the best out of him.
I love talking about young Scottish players, Tony, and we'll be speaking about Kieran Bowie tonight. A fantastic prospect. I mentioned earlier on what a great week it's been for other clubs in European competition. Kicked off by Rangers on Tuesday night, and I was there to watch. I actually interviewed him on the Monday, young Lyle Cameron. You used the word about this Hibs performance tonight, mature, and there was a maturity about his performance, but I don't think that would come as any great surprise to you, would it?
Not to me, not in the slightest. Big fan of Lyle. Really good relationship. Been speaking to him last couple of days as well, and I think you've seen that in his performance. One thing about Lyle, he's not fazed by anything, and he's got huge confidence in his own ability. And getting into that environment the other night, where he was under the spotlight, there's no doubt about it. He took it in his stride, and he showed that the level of competence he's got as a footballer, but the level of confidence he's got in himself as an individual, and that's something that comes about through his hard work day to day. But he's a really confident young man, and I was delighted for him. And tonight, I feel a little bit sorry for Josh. Josh had a really strong first half. He showed, a couple of times we illustrated or we mentioned that, his strength in getting Hibs up the pitch and making these strong runs. And it was unfortunate to come off, but it's good to see, these two young Scottish players, as you say, making their way in a European stage and showing that they're absolutely competent at that level.
Yeah, I'm actually just quickly Googling this. I just want to make sure I'm correct, but was it...
No, you're wrong.
It was Peterhead, I was right. Remember, just think of the benefit of a young player going out on loan like Josh Mulligan did to Peterhead and getting that developed.
Sorry, you can't look the answer up and then say it and go, yeah, I was right.
No, but trust me, believe me, I've been wrong many more times than right. I was going to say Peter. I just wanted to confirm.
Lyle went to Peterhead as well.
Right.
Lyle was at Peter, and he had a period where he wasn't playing.
I didn't know that.
And he asked to come back to Dundee because he wasn't playing. It was before my time, but because he just wants to play, And I remember, first, when we got Louth re-signing it. It was all about getting, the young players up to the exposure of playing as many games as they can. I don't know what their stats are now, but getting them up to over 100 games, or they did that last season. They got over 100 games, both Josh and Lyle, and you can see them tonight. See Josh tonight and Lyle the other night as well, showing a real level of competency, as I say, and a real confidence in their own ability.
Let's cross to Vienna. We can see the pictures coming into the studio here on Sports, and our reporter Jane Lewis is out there. Jane, I know you're down pitchside there. I mean, it just was a terrific performance from Jim Goodwin's team tonight.
Yeah, it really was, Kenny. The Dundee United fans are still in the ground. I think they're probably being kept in. But do you know something? I don't think they care a jot about that, because the drums are still beating and the cheers are still cheering. They're absolutely loving this tie so far, because you said, it's a great result, isn't it, to take back to Tannadice next Thursday night, 2-each draw. And Dundee United were under the cosh for large spells of that game defensively. Sometimes they were a little bit sloppy. They obviously gifted a couple of goals from a Rapid Vienna point of view, although they were very, very slick with the Austrian side. But my goodness, did they not get back into the game? Obviously it was 2-1 at half time, and Max Waters scoring the goal from a Dundee United point of view. But then Max Satford, we spoke to him pre-match, we've just spoken to him there again as well, and he's been speaking to us about the significance of that goal and how he believes that they can go back to Tannadice next Thursday and to try and finish that job off. But listen, Rapid Vienna, I think, showed a lot of quality this evening on the ball. They were absolutely lightning. They passed it around with precision, with pace, and they did really, really well to win the ball as well. The pressing at times was very, very impressive. But Dundee United, fair play to them. They held the ground when they had to, and they've scored 2 goals away from home, which could be just really, really significant in terms of giving them the confidence to go home and hopefully finish that job. But yeah, a good night for the Dundee United fans. There was plenty of beer being taken on board pre-match, Kenny. I fancy there'll be plenty more taken on board post-match as well, because so far it's been a brilliant night for them in Vienna. They'll be pretty happy, I think, with that result.
Yeah, we can hear them in the background there. Jane, thanks to Jane. She's off now to speak to Jim Goodwin. We'll bring that to you in Sports. I mean, we can see the pictures coming into the studio there, and there's a decent travelling support there in Vienna. The United fans in good voice are bouncing up and down there. Jane mentioned Zach Satsford. He got the equalising goal in 75 minutes. Let's hear from him now.
Zach, just talk us through that. You said you wanted to come here and keep the tie alive. You've very much done that.
Yeah, I think that, as I said before the game, that was our goal, and I'm really pleased with the whole team. Today we all put a great shift in, and to keep the tie alive going back to Dundee next week.
How hard a physical battle was it out there?
Yeah, it's always tough. Every game's tough. I like to work hard, so no matter what I do, I just always try and come off the pitch with everything left on the field. So yeah, feel good.
How important could that goal be, do you think? First of all, talk us through it.
I thought I'd hit it first time. It was a great ball from Ivan, and luckily it went into the bottom corner, so it was a nice feeling.
How significant could it be, do you think, that goal to make it 2-each going back?
I guess we'll see next Thursday.
What did you learn about your opposition out there? I think we probably always knew they were going to be good on the ball, quite quick, quite pacey. What did you learn about them?
Yeah, exactly what you said. They're really good on the ball. They like to move it side to side and try and penetrate us, but I think we did a fantastic job tonight and to keep them to 2 goals. So yeah.
And how much have you seen from your side this evening that demonstrates maybe that you can finish the job next week?
Yeah, I think we all worked so hard and we were able to score 2 really good goals against them, so I'm really happy, and I think the whole team's buzzing.
Very business-like there from Zach Satsford. He got the equalising goal on 75 minutes. Do you know what? It just feels good, doesn't it? We've had a lot of European disappointments, but it feels good tonight, Tony.
It's a really good night for the Scottish teams, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're right, there's been loads of disappointments at this stage, but you know, we need, obviously the Hibs result, you know, being a 2-0, you know, it's still in the balance, the Dundee United result, you know, but certainly they've got a real impetus going into that game at Tannadice. But yeah, it feels great, you know, the combination of that and the Rangers game the other night as well. It's good to see our teams progressing, and hopefully all 3 will.
It takes time, Tony, doesn't it? Because there's been a big turnover of players at United, and that's going to take a good few weeks. There's only so much that you can do in training. It's game time these players need, isn't it? It
is game time, and it's getting those relationships on the pitch, and that does, there's no doubt about it, take time. But I was impressed. I watched United against Falkirk. I was impressed with Falkirk as well. It was a really good game of football, but I was impressed with some of the Dundee United players, and I think tonight I've not seen the game. Obviously the guys next door have been watching and commentating on it, but to go to a place like Rapid Vienna against that level of opposition and score 2 goals, and come from behind on 2 occasions, shows real strong mentality, real resilience. But I'm sure to come away with a result like that, there has to be a lot good about your performance, and I'm sure that was the case tonight, and they'll be going home buoyed by that, and very much looking forward to, as I say, a night at Tannadice where it'll be a capacity crowd. There'll be a real decent atmosphere, and they'll be hopeful they can see that through.
Michael, what's realistic, do you think, for United fans to expect from this season? I think it would be fair to say they overachieved last campaign.
Overachieved?
I think so. Coming up. I look at Tony enough. Coming up, getting into the top 6 is quite easy, Tony, isn't it?
I don't think you could say a side like Dundee United getting into the top 6 was overachievement. I think for pretty much most of the campaign they were up there in the top 6. So no, I would.
Did you predict they were going to get European football?
I would say you're wrong again there, Kenny.
Did he get in the middle here again?
What do you expect this season? I think it's very difficult to predict what to expect from Dundee United with so many changes. I think what will obviously be pleasing Jim Goodwin is that the progress that's clearly been made in a couple of weeks, because the first couple of games against Una Strassen weren't great, but I agree with Tony that the game at Falkirk was really good. It was entertaining. There was a lot in it, and Dundee United looked a lot better. Obviously, I've not seen the game tonight as we were doing the Hibs game, but I would instinct exactly like Tony's talking about to have 2-2 away from home against Rapid Vienna. Okay, it might not have been the most beautiful on the eye, perhaps, but you've got to show a good bit of steel and determination, and you've got to obviously exploit the opportunity and take the opportunities that present themselves, and to go behind twice, that's certainly going to make Jim Goodwin and his players feel a lot better that they're moving in a direction rather than, even though they got through the previous tie, I would think privately they would have been a wee bit anxious about how things were shaping up. But space of a week, a good result against Falkirk and then there in Vienna will definitely have helped things.
We didn't have you on last Saturday, actually. I've got the list in front of me here. I got the pundits to give predictions, which we'll revisit throughout the season. So I'll give you a couple of minutes, a wee look, and give me your selection. So I want the 4 league winners, and I want surprise package in the top flight. Now, come on.
Well, you need to read the website, Kenny, because I've already done that.
All leagues?
No,
exactly. So I know you've got Celtic to win the title, the Premiership. Yeah.
And the surprise I'd said was, and this was pre last weekend,
Motherwell.
So you have read it.
Yeah.
So why are you asking the question
because
then?
I want the other leagues. I want the other leagues from you. Come on, I need you to commit to it. We're seeing Sports Sound, we're interested in all the leagues, Michael, so you need to really look at that. So come back to me in a couple of minutes, all right?
Oh, sorry, you want it off the top of my head, are you?
No, I want a couple of minutes to have a look.
On the spot.
Just the way the pundits, including Tony. You want Tony's to give you a wee guide? Tony went for Celtic, County, Inverness, East Kilbride, surprise package, Falkirk. So there you are. Have a wee think about that.
Sorry, I'd switched off from you, Kenny.
I know young Andrew's left the studio as a way to get his wording right. What was the one? Don't use the word. Was it floor? Was it floor you told him off for tonight?
It's the ground. Football's played outside. The floor's indoors.
Oh, dear. It brings back a lot of memories from last season. Good memories, I have to say. All good fun. It's been a great night for Scottish football. Bring you reaction from David Gray and from Jim Goodwin on Sports Sound, hopefully between now and 10:30. Tony, let's just talk then about Hibs this season. There's been an awful lot of noise about Hearts. Of course, the comments from Tony Bloom this week. We'll discuss them on Sports Sound on Saturday.
How good was that? How good was that?
What's that? Tony Bloom. Did you hear him say that?
Tony Bloom.
I loved it.
Brilliant, huh?
Well, and I think the thing is,
I think Derek McInnes is thinking it's brilliant.
that is a good point. I think he was actually. I think I may be right. I may be wrong here, but I think he was due to meet Tony Bloom after he had made these comments publicly. I think that was the case. We spoke about Derek on Saturday. Tony, obviously, you know him very, very well. He's got to be hugely excited. I actually thought that game, the first half from Hearts on Monday night, I thought they were terrific. I thought Aberdeen weren't great, I have to say, but. Do you think it's realistic that they can get closer to the top two? And also, I think Hibs will be right in the hunt for third spot again.
I think you're looking at both teams there, and I thought the performance for Hearts the other night, you seen the way they started the game, it was a real kind of Derek McInnes performance, up and at them right for the word go. I thought their system in the first half worked well for them, and I thought they showed the adaptability in the second half, the way they finished the game, going with a different system. So he's certainly got a lot of good players to choose from there, and so I think there'll be a much improved Hearts. It's very early to make any predictions at the moment. I think even looking at Hibs at the moment, they're making real steady progress. So it's going to be a really competitive league, and particularly with the two Edinburgh teams looking as strong as they're looking at the moment, then augurs well that it's going to be an exciting season.
Yeah, let's hope they can. One of the clubs can mount a serious challenge. We had that, of course, at the start of the season with Aberdeen last campaign. Of course, that petered out, but it ended in fine style for them winning the Scottish Cup. Just to stay on a positive note, because we like to do that on Sports Sounds, Scott McTominay nominated today for the Ballon d'Or. I mean, it's terrific, Tony. I was listening to Pat Nevin, actually. He was on lunchtime on Radio Scotland and just talking about the journey that he's had, and still disbelief at how readily Manchester United seemed to let him go, and he's just flourished. And of course he's a real stalwart now for the national side as well. He's just one of these terrific players to watch. He seems to have a bit of everything in his game.
He does. It's a brilliant story. I'm going over there and having the success he's had over in Italy and Billy Gilmore as well. And hopefully that it's coming into the international time just now, and hopefully they can take that into their form with Scotland. And I always want personally, and I'm patriotic, I want all the European teams to do well, and I want the national team to do well. So tonight's been a brilliant night for Scottish football, and hopefully getting into that period with internationals and with your Scott McTominays, they can take it another stage further and hopefully progress from the group they're in the internationals.
And to add to that, Real Madrid's Caroline Weir has been nominated for the Women's Ballon d'Or, the first Scot to make the shortlist. So well done to her. She's a terrific player, you would have to say. Michael, have you got your predictions ready for us? The nation awaits.
No, I've not.
No. Have you got the championship yet?
These are important things, Kenny. You need time to look them over.
Are we getting them before half 10?
The championship, I would say Tony went for County. I think St Johnstone might pip them.
Do you know who I went for? Partick Thistle.
The kiss of death.
Ray Bradshaw wasn't happy when I was student off the ball trail. I went for Thistle. Right, okay, so we're making progress. Celtic, St Johnstone, who Chick, I think Chick had them. I think you were in with me on Saturday. I think Chick had them as winners already, didn't they? The title's done.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see Accies do well in League One.
Are you going for them?
I like John Rankin.
Are you going for them?
Got a lot of time for John, and I think, I am.
Yeah, right, good. So we're just
League Two.
Yeah, East Kilbride was the popular choice, but of course they got off to a poor start on Saturday, and poor, I have to feel sorry. And I heard him mention, I think it was one of the podcasts this week, Rory went for Edinburgh City, who have just been hit with that 15-point deduction. So I think you'll struggle, Rory, if you're listening. But listen, we didn't know that at the time, obviously. So Michael can speak to us about that. Just seen Jim Goodwin on our screen at the moment. We'll hear from him just shortly on Sports, and hopefully David Gray as well. What a night for David Gray, a terrific young Scottish coach who handled himself really well last season when times were tough, and Tony spoke about that night in November, the 4-1 defeat up there. And I think that night, that he wasn't certain he was still going to be his manager, but they stuck with him, and fair play to Malky Mackay and the board there, and he's returned that so well for them, and they now look a really solid side. They're spending money, they've got a strong squad. And what a performance tonight in Europe, a 2-0 victory, Michael, for them. We've spoken a lot about Kieran Bow, we've spoken about Rocky Bashiri as well. Who else did you like tonight, Michael? Who do you think really kind of came of age in a European sense? Because it was a tough looking tie, albeit Belgrade are not the side that they were. They're a very young team now, but it was still a bit of a daunting challenge for them tonight. They weren't favourites for that game.
No, but I mean, look, like I just discussed before, the overall performance was good from Hibs. I think, you look through the whole team and you couldn't say there was anybody that didn't play well. But I mean, the standout, the obvious one was Kieran Bowie. Martin Boyle scoring 2 goals as well, and I thought his all-round play he was dangerous. And you think to the start of the last season where he wasn't fit, he wasn't having the impact. You could tell it was almost like psychologically he wasn't engaged as well, because it was just, I think David Gray actually spoke about the fact that without that fitness he just didn't feel like he was he wasn't having the impact, and then psychologically it was having an effect on him, and he just looked a little bit sort of removed, whereas started to get his fitness back last season, made a huge impact, and there tonight as well. It was a constant threat. But yeah, I mean, I've been harping on about it since the summer. I said it again at the start of the programme. Kieran Bowie is, if he's not wearing number 9 for Scotland and starting in the qualifiers, I'll be a very, very disappointed man.
Steve Clark's he's got to be in the squad, isn't he? I mean, there can't be any doubt about that, can there?
No, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he was in the squad obviously in the summer. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I'll perhaps not go on about it too much so it doesn't cause any issues, but
that doesn't usually stop you. Come on.
No, I think he's got everything.
Great.
I think he's got everything, and I think when you put out like certain players, when you look at them and you go, you can see them going to the next level, and obviously international football's the next level with that higher calibre of player. You can just see that'll raise his game. Yeah, and I just look at him and I see that, and I think that he's a guy that could go and play in there, and I think he would relish it, and I think he brings, for all the reasons that we're talking about in a way, European performance there, going and playing for the international team, it's very similar, and he's a real goal threat, and that's something that is probably the missing piece of the jigsaw for Scotland.
I think we'd expect to have Lawrence Shanklin as well back, confident, playing in his natural position for his club again, and you'd hope by the time it comes, a couple of goals in the bag as well. It's now starting to look a lot more optimistic for us up top.
I'm sure I saw what was it, Hearts posted, disallowed goal of the season's already been won.
It was a belt. But I think I saw a wee clip that someone posted where I think he said, see a player right away, because it looked quite contested.
Well, he was clearly aware that Halkett maybe was...
You could see him saying to one of his teammates, I think Halkett might be offside. He was really aware, but it was a great finish, wasn't it? And Derek will get the best out of him.
Yeah, I think so. What's encouraging for me as well, the players that you mentioned earlier on, Bowie, Mulligan, Cameron, they all came through Scotland under 21s together. So they know each other as players. So it does bode well for the future. If we're now talking about, having been involved in the Scotland set of balls, that the most important positions probably in any is 1, 5, and 9. And if you've got them, and we need that number 9, and if you've got Shanklin there, you've got Bowie chapping in the door, then you can. I think he showed tonight a real level of maturity. I think for a 22-year-old going into that.
Have you got number 5 playing centre midfield?
No, he can play at the back.
Midfield? No midfield?
Keep the goal. But we've always been strong.
No, I know we have.
Our strongest area, midfield area. But getting the 5 and getting the 9, is really, really important, and we're making strides towards that. And but going back to Kieran Bowie, I think his performance tonight, it showed that level of maturity that. It did look like a traditional centre forward, and as I said in the programme, when you play that system, when you play one up top, they're the most important players in that system, because if you don't, as we've seen throughout the performance, if you don't link play with your midfielders, you don't get up the pitch. If you and he's so central to everything that you do in that system, and I think he did that tonight, but he did more than that. He gave, as you always ask, he gave defenders a real issue, a real problem with his physical presence, get a player sent off, he won a penalty. So it was, an all-round real top performance, and like we're saying and talk about other ones, it's not just a good night for Scottish teams, it's a good night looking at the young Scottish players that have performed in Europe this week.
Do you know what Bowie's got is the other bit just to round it off? He's got a goal scoring instinct. He's not just a striker that is, and this is by no means demeaning on Lyndon Dykes, because I think he's been absolutely brilliant for Scotland. And when he came into the national team, he did all those sorts of things that we're talking about with Kieran Bowie. But Kieran Bowie, to me, looks like he's got a far better eye for a goal than Lyndon Dykes. I think he sniffs it out more. And and he's a real clean striker of the ball.
We saw that instinct of just the 49th minute. Remember the one he just nicked in and he just clip on it? That was great striker play, wasn't it?
Good movement.
Sharp.
Great. It's that double movement to get in front of the defender, and that's instinctive, as you say. That's an instinct, and that's something we'll talk about. If he's playing in the team that Hibs are, that he knows the ball's coming in early. When it goes to the wing backs, the ball's coming in early. That allows him to make these double movements that will result in him scoring goals. There's no doubt about it.
What about the Scotland system? That works perfectly for him.
100%.
Yeah,
aye,
suited to that.
Yeah, whether it's playing a back four or a back three, it's suiting, because you can just imagine him up there with the likes of McTominay, McGinn, up in support.
And Doak supplying the ammunition, hopefully.
Aye, yes.
He seems to be back fit. He scored, didn't he, in a friendly for Liverpool the other day?
Yep. He's, well, as I said, but in the summer there as well, he transforms the national team, because he's got that pace, which is so important, and without it, we don't have that blistering pace. But anyway, I mean, look, that's for next month. At the moment,
we're looking forward.
Certainly on a European stage, it's been so exciting, really, because you're talking about two. I mean, I think you mentioned it before, Kenny. Over the years, there's been a lot of near misses. There's been a lot of games where opposition have not been as glamorous as Rapid Vienna and Partizan, and I appreciate they're not what they were, but they're still good teams. And two of our sides there have gone toe to toe. Hibs have put Partizan to the sword, and Dundee United have showed a real resilience there to get a 2-2 draw away from home.
Yeah, we'll hear from Jim Goodwin just short. I'm not sure where David Gray is just yet, but Brian McLaughlin's out there. He'll no doubt hunt them down. So Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibs 2. That was the double from Martin Boyle, and let's hope they go through. They're in a very strong position. If they do, in the playoff round, they'll play the losers of Larnaca against Legia Warsaw. It looks very much like Legia Warsaw. They lost 4-1 tonight in the first leg. Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 2. Max Waters with the goal in 33 minutes, bringing them level at 1 apiece. Just before the break, Rapid went ahead again, but Zach Satzer, we heard from him earlier on Sports Sound, on 75 minutes, he got the equaliser. There was a lot of late pressure, about 8 minutes of stoppage time, but they held firm, and they will play the winners of AIK Stockholm or FC Gear. Stockholm winning the first leg tonight at home by 2-1. So let's now hear from Jim Goodwin. He's been speaking with Jane Lewis.
Would you give us your reflections on that 90 minutes of football? Pretty nervy at the end, wasn't it?
It was very nervy at the end, yeah. I mean, we, the team was literally running on empty, unfortunately. Given the situation with the squad and the players we have missing, we just, don't have the options available to us to freshen things up. And 2 or 3 of the players going into the dying moments were certainly, running on fumes. But I thought it was a really gutsy performance from the team. Rapid Vienna are a very good side. You can see the quality that they have. Everything we discussed yesterday in terms of the pace of the team, the quick interactions and the rotations. Clearly a very well coached team. But I thought it was, I think gutsy is the word that I would use probably to describe it. Real courage and real togetherness within the group to, just put their bodies on the line to try and take a positive result back to Dundee with us. And it was a really, really enjoyable performance, actually. I really enjoyed the occasion. I thought the atmosphere in here was brilliant. Both sets of supporters, but in particular our own, the Dundee United supporters were excellent. They really drove the team on, and I'm delighted that we were able to put on a performance that they could be proud of.
Have you seen enough from your side this evening, albeit what you were seeing of the quality of the opposition, but have you seen enough to believe that you can go through next week at home?
I think I did. I mean, look, we had a number of dangerous attacks ourselves. Like I said, with the pace and the running ability that the Vienna team have, we felt it was important that we denied them space behind the back line. I thought we'd done that a lot better in the second half. When I look at the goals back, there's a real disappointment from the way that we defended both those scenarios. The first one, it's a decent ball across the face, but we drop a runner 6 yards from goal. We've got to stay with the man and try and get a block on it. And then the second one is just a lapse in concentration. We get done with the ball down the side, we don't track the runner. A good goal from a Rapid Vienna perspective, but from our own perspective I thought it was avoidable. Kucherenko hasn't had a huge deal to do throughout the game in terms of shots on target and saves that he's had to make. I think most of what he had to do was quite comfortable, and that's credit to the group in front of him that put in some shift. Towards the end, I thought we got done with the sucker punch. Gladly, it was deemed offside. I didn't see the flag till late, but some really important blocks from the likes of Esselink, Iovu, Carestes, Will Ferry and Vichko at the back, and Kamara and Sybil I thought ran themselves into the ground in the middle of the pitch. So we're not getting carried away. We're not the tie is far from done, obviously at 2-2, but the important thing for us, I think, as a group was to make sure we had a result to go back to Dundee with. I would imagine they'll be close to a full house at Tannadice next Thursday for this one, and hopefully a close to full house on Sunday to get behind the team against Hearts, because this group of players are going to need all the encouragement they can get, because they really are lacking of energy at the moment, and there's going to be a big job on their hands for the medical team and the sports science team to try and make sure they rest and recover properly.
How impressed with the character that they showed to get back into the game? Obviously the 2 goals, and the second goal especially was a brilliant finish, wasn't it, and could be very significant.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at our performances last season, it's a thing that it's a non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned as manager or my backroom team. We put big demands on the players. We talk about it in training, about it in small-sided games. That never giving up mentality. It can take you a long way. Last season we had some real strong characters. Okay, some of them have departed, but we're still trying to instill that culture within the group, and sometimes it takes time, but I tell you, it's definitely here in abundance when you see that type of performance tonight. And we'll play better, undoubtedly, but I do think when you've got that never say die attitude, and it's very hard to beat a team that never gives up, and that's the minimum requirement as far as we're concerned. We can accept mistakes, we can accept people making poor decisions in key moments, but we'll never want to be outfought or outran by any opposition, and tonight that was brilliant.
The injury list doesn't get any easier. It would seem Papo came off after 20 minutes or so. How is he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I used all my good luck last season with the amount of late equaliser and late winners that we had, but unfortunately it's another injury that we could really be doing without in such an important area of the field as well, in that midfield area. So we had to change the shape, which is not ideal, because you work on a system and a style all week, and then the early part of the game you've got to change that system. We're obviously gutted for Isaac, but at this moment in time, it's too early to say what the damage is. But obviously going off on a stretcher, it doesn't look great.
I know it's early days. Just finally, you'll do your analysis. What will you have to do better in that second leg?
I think as manager probably gave the opposition a little bit too much respect at times during the game. Away from home, in Europe, I think you always know that the opposition are going to have maybe a little bit more of it, and it's a new environment for myself and all of the players to come and play in this type of venue. But maybe next week we can be a little bit braver, or certainly I can be as manager. The guys only carried out the instructions I gave them tonight, but maybe on Thursday at home in front of our own supporters we can be a little bit more aggressive in our press. We can get after Rapid Vienna a little bit more and apply a little bit more pressure earlier.
Fantastic night for Jim Goodwin and his players. Tony Docherty, Michael Stewart in the studio here. Just final thoughts from you guys. We've got a minute left. It's just been a great night, Tony, for Scottish football.
Brilliant night for Scottish football, and we were saying that earlier on. There's been plenty of times we've been bemoaning situations when we're in Europe and we don't get the right result or the right performance. Tonight we did with both clubs, and we did the other night as well with Rangers. So really good, really positive for Scottish football tonight.
And let's hope, Michael, they can finish the job off next weekend. United in with a decent chance. Hibs looking strong favourites now.
Aye, absolutely. Just roll into next week in a positive mindset, and a wonderful opportunity to get Dundee United and Hibs through to the playoff rounds, and that would be obviously the 3 teams with Rangers going through, and then obviously add to that Aberdeen as well. Yeah, so it's all looking very positive.
So we'll have Rangers on Tuesday night next week on Sports Sound. On the Thursday night we will have Hibs and Dundee United. So final scores: Partizan Belgrade 0, Hibs 2, Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 2. That's all from us here on the Sports Sound team. We'll be with you again on Saturday. Some great games on Saturday, lots of talking points, so join us then. From all of us here, good night.